Hello, everybody. It's Saturday. It's the 19th of July. It's 2025. It's just gone 9 o'clock here in the UK. It's good to see you. Welcome back to Whose Views. This is your big show, part one this weekend. There's lots going on this week in the Doctor Who world. And so we thought instead of just cramming it all into one show, we'd make it a two-parter for you. So part one tonight, right now, and part two tomorrow at the usual time of 8 o'clock here on the channel. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. And surprise, surprise, Scylla's here. Yeah. So I'm really pleased to see you. We've got a couple of really big stories, and I know a lot of you are not very happy with a particular person that's been chatting this week to the BBC writers' room. So we're going to come to that in a second. But I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has been getting in touch this week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. Don't forget the email address is whosviews1@gmail.com. whosviews1@gmail.com. Please do get in touch with anything you want, whether it be pictures or photographs of yourselves, or just to say hello, or just to express how you're feeling. Please get in touch. I will get back to you as soon as I can. So, as I say, I've got a fair bit to talk about tonight, and I am not alone. I'm delighted to say that joining me for this discussion tonight is Third Doctor Ian. Hiya, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hello, it's exciting doing a Saturday one, isn't it? Makes a change.
It does make a change.
Double header over a weekend.
And also we did live at 6 earlier, so that's 3.
Yeah.
Price
well, you know, you're just never off screen, JT. I mean, you know.
No, people will think about that. Kirsty's in the chat with us as well, and she's just reminding you all of the email address as well. Thanks, Kirsty. whosviews1@gmail.com. Kirsty was with me a couple of hours ago for Live at 6, where we had a great discussion about our excitement for the new Harry Potter Third Doctor, Ian.
That's taking off, isn't it? All publicity starting coming through on that now. Didn't they just do a publicity shot of the young lad in his costume and everything?
They've started recording this week.
Wow.
They were at London Zoo this week to record the infamous scenes where a snake escapes. So, yeah, they've started filming, so it's exciting. Well, we're excited. Kirsty and I are excited.
I know you're big fans, aren't you? You're huge fans.
We are huge fans. Let's have a look at this. JT kicking it old school, says Anthony Parkinson. Will tonight's episode end on a cliffhanger and electronic howl into the credits? I did think about it, Anthony, because I do that sometimes for the review shows, don't I, when we're doing a two-parter? And I thought we might do it tonight, but no, not on this particular one. Not as well. Darren and Hembry's with us as well. Hello, hope you're all well and stuff. Oh, well, thank you very much. And just Jordan, good to see you. Yes, it is a later one, isn't it? 9 o'clock. Headlines late. This one could be called Headlines Late. It's great to see you all, though. Hope you've all had a lovely day. Stephen O'Neill's just telling us, Ian, that he's just been watching Dick Emery show on the Eden channel.
Dick Emery, what an absolute classic. You know, the more you watch old stuff, he pops up everywhere. I mean, I've mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of Tony Hancock and Hancock's Half Hour TV and radio. And he turned up as a postman on one of the Hancock's Half Hour episodes where they'd got their hands stuck in the post box, and just can do the comedy, can do the dry stuff, and you can see them almost cracking each other up. Absolute skilled comedian. Much missed. Much missed.
I have cut the odd episode myself with Dick Emery on Eden, and it takes me right back to when I watched it on Saturday nights on the telly, not quite knowing what was going on. Really,
the central part of Saturday nights, though, wasn't it? Wonderful stuff. Those characters.
It was BBC's golden age, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he would be on.
Funny. Yeah, genuinely funny.
They were. We were allowed to laugh in those days.
Yes.
Good to see your Forbidden Man saying here to us as well. Good old Dick, what a classic comic he was. Oh, and Graham. Hello, Graham. Hold on. Whose Views on a Saturday? I'm just back from that Target book thingy uptown, sat next to Stephen Wyatt, who I bumped into literally Stephen Gallagher. Stephen Gallagher's a nice guy. I've met him before. He's a nice guy. And Target book thing. Do you know what that one is, Ian?
I do not. No. Sounds interesting. They'll tell us more, Graham.
It does, Graham, yeah. You have to get in touch. You know the address, whosviews1@gmail.com. So give us an email, and let's hear some more about that. We did our Target special last week, didn't we? Part 2.
We did. That was great.
It was. I think Graham mentioned it on that, didn't he?
Might have been actually that he was going to it. Yeah, I'd like to know more, though. Definitely like to know more.
Graham's saying he'll email this week. Thank you very much, but chill out now. You're home after your journey and stuff with us. Get yourself a cup of tea or a drink. And our John, the connection between Tony Hancock and Doctor Who is a curious one. It's Terry Nation. Yes, it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Famous connection.
They hadn't had a fallout.
Mm.
They did fall out, didn't they? I think on his, was it after they'd been away on a boat or something? They had a fallout, and he found himself out of a job, so he took the Doctor Who gig.
Yeah, isn't it fair to say that Mr. Hancock may have fallen out with quite a lot of people during his career?
He did, unfortunately. He's Spike Milligan got a bit of criticism at the time, but it was Spike Milligan's style. He said he got rid of Kenneth Williams because he was jealous that Kenneth Williams was getting more laughs. He got rid of Hattie Jakes. Then he got rid of Sid James, and Spike Milligan said eventually he just got rid of himself because obviously he committed suicide. He was a deeply troubled genius, really. I think was Tony Hancock. It was a real shame. Real shame.
It's a very sad story. A lot of comedians are very sad stories.
Yeah,
a shame.
Yeah, they are.
I believe as well. It's also one of the reasons why they wouldn't bring him into the carry-ons every now and then.
I think Sid James did his best to try and look out for him and help him and try to get him into those films, but I think he felt he was a little bit above it, and it didn't quite work out that way. He made a couple of films. I watched The Rebel. I've never seen the Punch and Judy Man, but I watched The Rebel and I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. And there's a few people that turned up in a lot of the Hancock episodes, like John the Measurer and people like that. But shame.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But an absolute comedy genius. His timing was perfection. Really was.
So there you go, everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining us this Saturday night. Let's crack on now. And I've just seen Digby's in the chat with us saying, evening JT, evening Ian, evening lovely people in the chat. I've just watched the first 2 episodes of Bookish. It was okay. So that brings us very nicely to our first story this evening, because yes, this man has been annoying quite a lot of people in fandom. Yet again, as far as I'm concerned, Mark Gatiss is towing the party line. No shock, really.
No.
They're going to stick together, aren't they?
Of course, yeah. Like glue. It's. I don't know. It's. I do feel that this is a very creepy individual. I've never felt comfortable with Mark Gatiss. Seems very smug, very slimy, very condescending, very superior, and definitely one of what he sees as being the elite.
One of those.
I don't feel comfortable with that individual at all. So, yeah, the stuff that he's been upsetting people with this week is just the latest round. They all stick together. They're all the same kind of lewd lefty bunch. Don't like them.
Yeah, they are. Far lefty bunch. Lunatics, a lot of them. Now, this is obviously part 2 of what we were talking about when it comes to Mark Gatiss, because last week in Headlines on Sunday, part 1 involved the fact that we told you that he was had been interviewed by the Radio Times for something called the Writer's Room, which was arriving on Thursday. It did. And that's where people started to get a little bit peed off. I found it on Thursday evening and thought, don't say anything about this now because it's going to be the usual. But I haven't managed to contain my annoyance at him. Let's have a look and see what he said from the Radio Times, shall we? Ian, here we go. Doctor Who legend Mark Gatiss reveals key problem for writing episodes. Nostalgia is a dangerous thing. Nostalgia is a great enemy and we have to be careful of it. Now, this is just one of the elements. So I've tried to capture it all in a particular part of it. Okay. The interview, if you're desperate, is available on the BBC sites and all this sort of stuff. Personally, I wouldn't bother because, as Ian was alluding to there, he sits there and loves himself, as they all do. They all do. But anyway, let's carry on with it. This is what it says here. The actual process of trying to make it a modern show for a new audience is not about nostalgia. And I think that's the great difference, he said. Now, this is about him looking at Doctor Who, of course. Because what they've talked about now when it comes to Bookish is how he's made it and how Doctor Who helped him to write the thing, So
he starts off by saying nostalgia is an enemy. And yet, by referring to Pertwee, isn't he relying on basically nostalgia? Because Pertwee's not with us. He hasn't been with us for decades now. And yet there he is relying on what is essentially nostalgia while slagging off nostalgia and just proving that he's a prat.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, again, it shows the hypocrisy of these people because he carries on. You have to go, right, why is this going to work now? It doesn't really matter what worked for John Pertwee and Tom Baker. It's about now. So if we're trying to get an audience now, this show is the same but different. So to me, it was always a combination of these things. He continues, it's a strange thing because I've revived so many things. You assisted in writing an episode of Doctor Who. You didn't revive it. Sherlock and Dracula.
So he could say he's revived various things, or has he just plagiarized other things? Because it's like RTD, it's all been other people's work, hasn't it? What's the original stuff in there?
Yeah.
What original stuff has he done? He's done some original stories in Doctor Who, but he's always hung them on principles that have been there before. Either things like Unquiet Dead, he's just hanging it on the fact that Doctor Who's come back and he's using the Doctor Who characters and the plot mechanisms and everything else, or he's done it with Daleks, or he's done it with Ice Warriors. He's not really come out, with anything that I would say is an original concept on his own.
League of Gentlemen was part of a collaborative team.
Yeah.
So Bookish is the first thing I'm aware of that has really been down to him. Let's see what else he says in the article. I think nostalgia is a great enemy, but we have to be careful of it. It's part of the reason we're in the mess we are. I think weaponized nostalgia, nothing's as good as it used to be. And yet people can't see that people have always thought that, even when it used to be better. It's a dangerous thing. Weirdly, the first thing I did for Doctor Who was a novel for Virgin Books. Look at this word he uses this. It won't use the wilderness years or in the years the show was off. He has to use this to show how pretentious he is. The dark times, the times of chaos, and that's what it's about. He continues, it's about nostalgia as an alien entity that feeds off memory because it's funny. I keep coming back to that because as much as I love old stuff, the job of the show constantly is to regenerate itself. And sometimes when I meet grumpy old Doctor Who fans, you think you've just fallen into the same space-time trap, that it's not as good as it used to be because it's not for you anymore. If you still like it, that's great. It's great, but it's not for you. However, he did write an episode which utilized the Daleks, titled Victory of the Daleks, and was the first and so far only writer to bring back the Ice Warriors. When asked whether he ever considered bringing any other monsters back, he said that he didn't, once again relaying that it was always important to be forward-looking and creating something new. But again, we tried to do something different with it. And Stephen Moffat took a lot of persuading because they were traditionally very lumbering and slow. And I said, well, what about if there's something inside it that's very fast? And then his eyes lit up and I got away with it. What? He continued, but not really, no. I always look back, as everyone does, to Tom Baker's first 3 years and Philip Hinchcliffe and the fact that the Daleks and the Cybermen were an inheritance. Those scripts and the Daleks, they did something extraordinary with it. It became Genesis of the Daleks, one of the greatest stories in the show. But after that, it was like new stuff, right? And one after another were in the Zygons, Morbius, the Crinoids. And apart from the Zygons, who only came back initially for the 50th anniversary, they were left untouched because you go, well, they don't need a sequel. So I would say, again, the desire is always to create new. The problem is trying to think of anything anywhere near as good. And also, I suppose, the nostalgia. What the hell is he talking about?
I think some of that would make Kamala Harris sound coherent.
Well,
he's just trying to justify his pomposity while sticking his head up his arse. It's word salad, nonsensical word salad. And yeah, Woodhouse 122, absolutely right. Fitzroy Tavern.
Yeah, Mark is a picked up member of the Fitzroy Tavern Brigade, says Woodhouse 122. He absolutely is, isn't he? Absolutely is. I mean, I look at this and I've just read it out to you and I still can't believe what he's saying. I don't want to go and look at the video. I've no interest in hearing him talk because I've got no interest in these people at all now. They burned their bridges.
It'd just give you acid reflux, I think. If you watched him talking, you'd just start feeling the bile rising. I mean, what's he saying? What he's saying, how does that relate then to RTD? Because nostalgia is a terrible thing. You don't need to do it. Look to the future and everything else. RTD has done nothing but mine the classic series for ideas and for inspiration and not done any of it as good as it was the first time round. So don't say it wasn't as good, actually, because it was better. We had proper stories. We had proper excitement. All we've got now is regurgitated, watered down new takes on old stuff, and it's just not as good. I don't care what he says. He's wrong. He's absolutely wrong.
There's a lot wrong in what he's just been saying there to the Radio Times. Farsight is saying it's absolute rubbish. Nostalgia is fine if done properly. Look at Remembrance, very nostalgic, but fresh and new at the same time. I would agree with that. Sheila B in the Devotions, nice to see you. I can't stand his stuff. It's vile. It's lazy. I don't mind the one that we reviewed a couple of years ago. What was that? The first one from the first series? Unquiet Dead. I didn't quite mind that. At least it had the flavour of being Doctor Who. But I can't remember any of the others he's written because they were just so damn boring. You know, shallow.
I didn't mind the Ice Warrior in the submarine one initially, but it's like everything else. You have to go too far. Part of the Ice Warriors was you never knew what was under the mask. So, of course, naturally, he has to go and blow that. He has to. You know, you can't have some mystery. It's almost like they're afraid of mystery. They're afraid of not knowing. It has to go and blow it. That's where it started getting silly, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, these people are so exhausting, aren't they, Who viewers? Because they are so predictably dull and so predictably pushing a complete narrative, which is so out of touch with anybody with an ounce of sanity. You know,
incredibly pretentious.
They really are. And they're great examples of how pretentious that alleged entertainment industry is and how it looks down on reality and all of us. Julianne's with us. Hello, Julianne. How are you, lovely? Not for us. It's not for anyone. RTD is the one who, because he's bereft of talent and imagination, has weaponized the past by just draping the twisted TQ cult identity politics all over it. Yep. He started with Chibnall, and then he just killed it off for good. Digby, thank you for your super chat. There's lovely irony of a man warning against nostalgia, setting a police procedural drama set in the 1940s. His character is like a Doctor-like character. I'm not surprised. Gatiss has always wanted to play the Doctor. And because he can't, he'll come up with something else the same way. I've seen him do this before. As Paul pointed out on Headlines last week, he also played the Doctor in that Doctor Who night we had back years and years and years ago. You know, and he loved that. He relished it. He looked at that, I reckon, as some sort of, oh, look at me. I'm very surprised that RTD hasn't even canonized that version yet in all this nonsense that's going on.
I think probably if he'd had another year, he might have done.
Very probably, yeah. But that's all he wants to do. And, you know, I can see it in some of the body movements. Some of his body movements are very Peter Davison's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the thumbnail for last week's show, I pointed out that I chose that one deliberately because he had the sort of stance of Peter as the fifth Doctor back in the day.
And again, he's always wanted to play the Doctor, but if he got the chance, I don't think he would be an original. He would be trying to channel Pertwee because he's obsessed. I'm obsessed with Pertwee, but he's just weirdly obsessed. But like you say, he would also try and channel Davison. And as much as I respect Davison and as much as I love Pertwee, the two are totally different and absolutely incompatible. They were different versions of the same character, played entirely differently. Correctly so. You know, they should be different. But he can't. He doesn't have enough talent, to be honest, to play the Doctor. He hasn't got it. And in most of his stories, he hasn't had the talent to write for the Doctor either, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Mark Walker saying to us, given its viewership, Modern Who, especially recently, isn't for anyone. Well, you can't argue with that, can you, Mark?
No,
it's a fact. It's a fact that Mark's given us there. The viewership was absolutely deplorable, as we all know on this channel. Isn't
for anyone and hasn't really been watched by anyone either, has it, really?
No. And is now in another limbo period because they screwed it up. She'll be in the Devotions. Nothing is for us, apparently. Just who is it for? Great question. I've been thinking about that myself, actually, because they keep saying it's not for you, it's not for you, it's not for you. So who's it for? Because their mythical modern audience isn't watching it. And he's, with that, whenever that was recorded, it must be fairly recently, so out of date, because these conversations we were having 2 years ago, and especially last year, he's so out of date, but He's listened to what people around him, certain people around him have said, and basically redressed it. And he makes himself look a complete and utter tart.
They always do the same, don't they? They see something doesn't work. They try and apply their worldview and their values, such as they are, and their perversions to it. It doesn't work. So their only course of action, the only thing they know how to do, is to insult the people that don't like it and double down and do it more. And it still won't work. It's still unpopular. People still won't like it, but they'll still say that they're the problem. They won't look at themselves and think, maybe we're approaching this wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, they won't, will they? Because they just blame us.
Yeah. Complete every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. We've got Legion of James with us here saying at this point they don't even know what nostalgia is in entertainment. The subtlety of nostalgia has become a cut and paste and oh, look at this, remember. Cody's with us saying I like the Crimson Horror. I'd completely forgotten about that one as well. Was that a Mark Gatiss script? I'd completely forgotten about it. Do you remember it?
It might, but I vaguely remember it. People going bright red and everything in a sort of like
Diana Rigg, wasn't it?
Village or something.
Diana Rigg.
It might have been, yeah.
Okay.
Eminently forgettable.
Domgo with another cracking, lovely little avatar there. Not for us or Disney, apparently. Well said. Hartnell's Ghost. Hey, Gatiss, your best TV work is an adventure in space and time, pure nostalgia. You see, I don't even rate that, but it was pure nostalgia because it was for the 50th anniversary. But I do think another script was needed to tighten it up a little bit more. And it was so obviously he got the idea from the Coronation Street Road to Coronation Street docu drama that they'd done for their 50th anniversary just a few short years before, which was brilliant. Yeah,
I never saw that.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic, absolutely wonderful. What else we got here? We've got Stephen Braddock. Bookish even has his own psychic paper surrogate. Yeah, remind me to talk to you about that in a minute, Ian, because there's a reason for that, he said. The Celtic Druid is with us. Hello, mate. I met Mark Gatiss in London at a Doctor Who convention. We chatted briefly, but he was quite short with me. He can be. He can be these days because he's so far up his arse. Years and years ago in the 90s when they were making it as the League of Gentlemen, they were quite laid back. And I remember meeting him and talking to him a few times, and they were quite, they would give some time. Then Doctor Who came back and they just all go, woof, and they'll cross the road from you. Honestly. Unbelievable, some of these people. It's not just you. Yeah. Not good to you, not just you. Pete Harrington's with us. Hello, Pete. He's good in the League of Gentlemen as an ensemble, but cannot act in a straight role. Comedy he should stick to. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. And thank you for your super chat, Mark Greaves. Hi guys, Gatiss went up his own arse on Sherlock, making it so unbelievably complex it lost all the fun. He's the Temu Pertwee impersonator. Well, I made my
I like that. Very good.
It is good. I made my feelings known about Sherlock last week. I'd rather watch Jeremy Brett any day than that nonsense that they brought out for the modern version. Honestly. Jeremy Brett's my Sherlock.
Tom Baker's version was incredibly superior.
Don't really remember it, to be honest. I'm still in culture shock because it's gone from Doctor Who. Thanks, Mark. And Dot Martin, who was saying to us, wasn't Gatiss one of the writers of the Doctor Who Night sketches that insulted the fans and every Doctor after Tom? Yes, that was Doctor Who Night. That was Doctor Who Night.
He upset Sylvester McCoy, didn't he?
For years.
Mm.
For years, Sylvester and Colin as well, but Sylvester especially wouldn't talk to him for years. So how he got himself out of that one, I don't know, because they ended up doing that video diary of Sylv handing over to Paul McGann. San Francisco. So there we go. I'm sure it was around about that, or maybe it came after that. Maybe time's cheating on me again. But yeah, for years they didn't talk.
It would have been very close, wouldn't it? Because the TV movie was 96, and obviously the video was filmed.
It must have been before the TV movie. Yeah, before the TV movie. Yeah. Hugh Janus, good to see you. Thank you very much for your super chat. So Piper appearing right at the end wasn't nostalgia, right? This is the point. That's another great point from Hugh there. What are they talking about?
They don't engage the brain before putting the mouth into gear, do they? Really? No. They just give it this and don't think what they're saying at all.
Yeah. No, it's true. Paul Rose is saying to us, apparently another 300k worth £50 million dropped the TV license recently, and old anti-Beeb are beginning to panic and assessing options. Good, they've done it to themselves. Yeah, Lex mentioned that as well in our live at 6 with me and Kirsty. We're going to be talking about that at some point here on Who's Views on Headlines. I just want to get the facts right about this as well, because yes, apparently there's been another 300,000 license fees cancelled, which is having a massive effect on the revenue coming into the BBC. This could actually be the right time for Doctor Who not to be on the air.
Yeah, probably.
Not that BBC Studio will think of anything like that, Paul, eh? But they've got to change. They've got to adapt, and they're not going to get any help from the government. Not really. Yeah, Heretic. Hello, Heretic. How are you? Hello, everyone. I hope everyone has had a great weekend. You too, mate. I'm sick of hearing it's not for you. What happened to making TV that aims to capture as many people as possible? You tell me. You tell me. Especially with the BBC that you have to pay for, whether you like it or not. And they don't like you cancelling it. There's nothing on there that I would watch, actually, on BBC television. Nothing interests me at all. So,
no.
Don't pay for it.
No, I might have watched, especially now that Leeds United are back in the Premier League, I might have watched or watch again Match of the Day. Probably more likely to now, because it's no longer done by that pompous Pratt Lineker.
Of course, he's gone, hasn't he?
He's
Isn't
gone.
it? What's his name? The chubby one coming in now.
Possibly. I think they were looking for 2 or 3, so probably some disabled black lesbian would be in there at some point that has no knowledge of football.
Oh.
Because they like to do this. They do like to do this, you see, because you've got the women's Euros at the minute, and they do tend to prefer, if it's women's football, then it's got to be women commentators. It's got to be all female. And that's absolutely fine. Great. Knock yourselves out. But they also think men's football also has to have women's commentators as well. So it's a little bit two-tier. There's a lot of that in the world these days.
That's a bit sexist. If they're saying that you can only have women commentators...
You're allowed to be sexist when it's a certain way, really. But they're not really that good either, which is a bit of a problem. Or they don't choose the right ones. You know, they seem to strike a decent balance with tennis, for example. Male, female commentators for all the matches. Great, fine. It seems to work really, really well. But for football, no. They had one famous one. Naturally, it was a black lady. And that would have been fine, but she was crap. And she gave these ridiculous stats out. She said, you know, he's played 40 games and scored 20 goals. Work it out, do the math. It's a goal a game. It's like, It isn't really, is it? 20 goals in 40 games isn't a goal a game. But
the BBC gets no sympathy from me for anything it does. Absolutely nothing. You know, I want to defund it because I'm sick and tired of the BBC and they're not listening. I'm sick and tired of the entertainment industry, to be quite honest, and their high and mighty, ridiculous...
That's a great hashtag, isn't it? A very popular hashtag, defund the BBC.
Well, it's a group. It's an organisation if you're outside the UK. It's an actual organisation that are reporting on all sorts of things to do with the BBC. I've said here on Headlines before, this week hasn't been a good week for the BBC. It's now every week is never a good week for the BBC. And Tim Davie is still there. He should have resigned a couple of weeks ago. If he'd had any decency in him, he should have stepped down and gone. It's
have you noticed the police aren't pressing charges on certainly the group Kneecap? They're not pursuing anything on that one.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No,
it was on TV. It was published. Everybody saw it. Everybody heard it. But you know, no action. But
it's one of those things, though, isn't there? Nothing to see here.
A recently bereaved mother is serving 31 months. You know.
Yeah. Let's see what you've got for us in the chat. Woodhouse122 confirming that Doctor Who 1989. Yeah, thank you very much. Steve Henley was saying it's not for you, grumpy old Who fans, even though I was happy to take your cash when you bought copies of Nightshade and The Plotters. Now, that's this, isn't it? That's it exactly, Steve. You're absolutely right. And that's what gets me about these people, because they forgot how they got into Doctor Who in the first place. They were fans. And in the Wilderness years, we supported them because they were fans. And we supported the start of their careers. I remember buying a lot of those New Adventures and Missing Adventures, knowing that this was helping them to start a career. And I was young myself probably, in fact, I was younger than them, but some of them were coming through and go, oh, you know, we're going to start writing now. And you did your bit. You supported them. And then you met them at conventions and they signed your books and stuff like this. And, oh, thank you for buying the book. Now they wouldn't care.
They had an element of humility then. They remembered their roots, where they came from. But I think all they were doing was probably masking an arrogance and a pomposity and a superiority complex that's since come to the fore since Doctor Who came back. I mean, I look up there, I've got Nightshade written by him. I didn't get the plotters, I didn't get all the missing ones, but that was, I think, when it became BBC books. But I got Nightshade. I enjoyed Nightshade, to be quite honest. And there's books up there that were written by people that really wanted to get into it, like Russell T Davies. Got that one too. And that was a bit shit, to be quite honest. I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't think it was very good. No. But yeah, they've changed a lot, and not for the better.
I liked Bad Therapy by Matthew Jones.
Yeah,
that was one of my favourites out of the New Adventures. That was one of the latter ones, absolutely. But that's the one that always stands out in my head because of the Autons and stuff like this. It was very good, and it also dealt with a gay angle in Doctor Who nicely, I thought, at the time. Double standards around the BBC abhorrent, says Legion of James. The fact they are so slow to move to deal with blatant violations of conduct says all we need to know about the corporation and even Ofcom. It's because they've been infiltrated by these far left activists who think we're all wrong. They're completely insane. There is no balance anymore in the BBC. And like the civil service, nobody is clamping down on them to say, you do not have an opinion. You are working for all. And Britain is so different now, unfortunately, to where it was when the BBC was in its heyday. You can't necessarily look at doing that because everything they're doing is excluding something else. And they've struggled with an increasing demand from Britain, and a lot of people that just won't fit into the culture of Britain and therefore won't buy a BBC TV license. It's not their background. They sow
division, though, don't they? They sow division.
Yes, they do. And they do it deliberately.
Yeah, when we look at Doctor Who before, classic Doctor Who, they didn't have to try to make it for everybody. It just was. Everybody could watch Doctor Who from 5 to 105. Male, female, whatever you wanted to call yourself, although people were a little bit more sane in those days and didn't have issues like that. And everybody could just enjoy Doctor Who. You wanted to enjoy Doctor Who, just sit down on a Saturday night, turn your telly on and watch it and enjoy it. And that was it. And it was not an issue at all. But now they've taken that and they've turned it into something that isn't for people. I mean, you know, you've really got to go some to do something like that.
They've really weaponized the BBC. Yeah. You know, for one side, from everything from its news to Doctor Who to its children's shows, and it's all far left ideological, theoretical nonsense.
It used to be respected and it used to be trusted, and it is now neither.
And now they're even going to abroad, like the Americans, and saying, "Oh well, if you want BBC News, you'll have to pay for it now." Don't bother. Don't bother. If you want to get British news, then go onto YouTube and follow the alternatives to the BBC. And subscribe to places like Talk TV and GB News and see which ones of those you like, because they tell you the truth. They're not going to give you all this lace stuff that the BBC does. They'll actually say this is what's going on. Yeah. That's what I would suggest you do. Don't be paying the BBC. Tim Davie blamed the head of channels to deflect from his own incompetence, says Frankie. Yeah, I was disgusted about that. Yeah. And that way out of that. Did the head of channel have to stand down? Possibly. Will he have some sort of warning? Possibly. And there's Tim Davie getting away with it again. He's useless. He's useless. He should go. No. Absolutely disgraceful.
Non-stick. I think it was interesting though, JT. And if you've got that for another show or whatever later, I apologise for jumping in. But it was interesting what happened this week, where we're talking about impartiality and everything else, and the BBC aren't impartial, and neither are the police, are they? And you know how the police love joining those pride marches and everything. And there was a legal challenge, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a legal challenge this week. Yeah,
and the lady won, saying that by taking part in pride, they were showing a lack of impartiality, and she won.
Yeah.
And
I remember the days though. I remember. I mean, I know where this has come from historically wise, where the police are taking pride in part in pride. It's because historically they didn't, of course, and they would call us everything from the sidelines, every homophobic term going. In fact, I remember a particular pride where they were chasing us to arrest us, and we were all like, you know, all this sort of stuff. They didn't get most of it, you know, but they were not friendly in those days. And then the 90s changed everything, in the late 90s especially. And then, of course, they go on all this today. They go on unconscious bias training, which is the worst thing anybody could ever go on to. Because, you know,
it's one extreme to another, isn't it? They can't find that middle ground, which we got in the late 90s, where things seemed to be pretty much all right. And then they just couldn't hold it there. Everything just went to shit.
So what's happened if you're outside the UK this week is that somebody has gone and said, look, the police should not be running around like they do now, especially at Pride times, with multicolored taxpayer funded cars, police dancing in the street, mincing ninnies dancing in the street, rainbows all over them, flag. It's embarrassing. TQ cult slogans all over their vehicles and on their market. It's embarrassing. I've hated it for years, but it comes from the fact that they never get involved and they wanted to change their image. Well, now they've changed it so much. Not even the LGBT community wants to go anywhere near them, because if you say a man is a man and a woman is a woman, they'll arrest you.
It was a gay lady that brought the case, wasn't it?
It was. At the moment, I can't remember her name.
No, but absolute legend, because you know they agreed with her that if you are critical of the TQIA cult, then you would feel that the police would not be fair with you, and they're obviously not. They've got a long history of that now, and she won. So it showed that the police, and the advice was that the police should not take part in Pride. They should police it. They should try being a police force, maintain the law, and be impartial. You know, police an event, ensure law and order is maintained at an event, and then do nothing else. Just do your job and then sod off.
I totally agree. I was never comfortable with them joining in, and this started to come about when I was getting so sick and tired of prides, just thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's no longer I mean, they were turning things into Mardi Gras, and they were charging you to get in so they could pay for bloody Kylie or whatever it was going to be, you know, big names. That's not what Pride was about. Pride was about marching. It was about political ambition, and we got everything we needed to. So in a sense, like Stonewall, Pride should have folded, but now it's been taken over by the TQ cult. And over the last 10, 15 years, I've been ashamed of the police, going, oh, this is just embarrassing. If something kicks off, I'm off now. A couple of years ago in Glasgow, which held its Pride today, and I'll be interested to see if the police are there. In fact, Frankie has just told me. Frankie has just said the Scottish police were there in Glasgow today. Oh, really? Well, there's a lot of problems with Scotland at the moment because they're not adhering to certain things that have been put out by people, you know, saying, no, you've got to follow this. This is common sense. But anyway, that's another show. But yeah, where was I going? What was I saying? Yeah, the police appeared at the Glasgow Pride and asked a group of lesbians at the front of the Pride march to leave because they may offend the people behind them who were all part of the TQ cult. Because these lesbians, of course, were leading this parade saying men aren't women. Men are not lesbian. It's and here's the police coming along in their bloody coloured nonsense saying, you guys, we understand what you're saying. No, you didn't, but you can't be part of this protest and you could cause upset or you could cause some sort of reaction, so you've got to go. And the women were like, bloody stop us. Yeah, which they did eventually, unfortunately. Oh, it's I don't understand how we've got to where we've got to. It's absolutely crazy. Let's have a look and see what else we've got in the chat. Farsight was saying to us, what was the point of us older fans keeping Doctor Who alive in the 1990s? If it wasn't for us, there wouldn't have been any new show. It sounds like the Fitzroy cabal saw an opportunity to get control of the show. Well, they did. As for Gatiss, one a good story, his debut novel Nightshade in over 30 years doesn't give him much room to lecture, in my opinion. I agree with you there. But they saw the opportunity and they ran with it, didn't they? As soon as Russell had it, that was them.
You know, I do recall Nightshade striking me as being a bit of a riff on Quatermass. And in there, he was mining nostalgia again, wasn't he? He's done nothing but. And now he thinks he's on a bit of a pedestal. He's made it. He can now criticize everything that he's used. It's very much like Big Finish trying to shut down Midjourney when forgetting where they came from in the 80s and 90s with the audio
It's the H
visual.
word again, Ian.
Yeah,
it's hypocrisy.
Absolutely.
These people are all the same because they rule the roost now.
Yeah.
Or so they think. Listen, Al John has just told me who it was. Thank you for that, mate. It was Lindsay Smith. Of course it was. Thank you so much for that, Al John. Appreciate it. Big shout out to Lindsay. Mark Walker is saying to us, fan service is called pleasing the customer in any other industry. That's a good point, mate. Duncan, Funky Evans, great to see you. Most of Gatiss's career is entirely based on nostalgia. I think all of it is, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Legion of James saying, I wish he would stop taking my doctor's name in vain to lend credibility to whatever guff he's churning out. And Raymond Williams, nostalgia isn't the problem. RTD decided to steal superior writers' villains because he couldn't invent his own. He then altered them completely from their past version. That's what upset fans. That's part of what upset fans. The other problem is he had a mincing ninny as the Doctor. Two spectacular miscasts in Doctor Who as the lead character. The revision and the rewriting of the lead character to say that he'd always been a woman anyway, which was a lie. And then a bastardization of his history. Oh, everybody's got to have an origin story. It's called Doctor Who, BBC. Don't you know your own show? No. Other things coming on. The DEI elements. The pronoun nonsense. The Davros Gate incident. Oh, come on. There were loads, weren't there, Raymond? There were loads.
It just flushed itself down the toilet, really.
Yeah.
And it became a public embarrassment. The public just found it something to laugh at again, like they did in the 80s. But it was a kind of an affectionate laughing at Doctor Who because of its cheapness. But it was cheap because they spent no money on it. It wasn't cheap because it had money and just looked shit. It was cheap because it had to be cheap, and it was an affectionate but not hated laughing in the late 80s. Whereas now that's just Gatwa and everything and Jodie Whittaker. It was just despised as it is now, I think.
We've got Pete Harrington saying to us, didn't he write The Crooked House around 2008? No idea. That was good, but horror nostalgia played a big part. He's talking out of his art. And then Jamie9526, I think Gatiss also did Quatermass as a reboot. Gatiss is half right. Who should be for the kids and the families of the day? This isn't. It's RTG's desires, not the audience's. It's his dictates, not desires. It's his dictates, I would say, mate. But thanks, Jamie. Nice to see you. So what about the wilderness years? Without the nostalgia, Doctor Who wouldn't have even come back, says Steve Braddock. And Paul Rose is saying, hi, JT and Ian. Thought I was losing the plot for a minute. Was thinking, I'm sure these are on Sunday, but it's you. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. This is part one, everybody, if you're just joining us. This is part one of our weekend of headlines. We've got a lot to talk about over the next couple of days because there's been a few stories this week and I knew we'd all want to talk about it. So this is part one now, and part two is tomorrow at the usual time on the channel at 8 o'clock. Nigel Walker, hello mate, how are you? I'm a fan of the League of Gentlemen. I was as well for those years when it was the big thing. I even went to see it live. It was very good. Mark Gatiss has written some good stuff, but mainly in his early days. He wrote some good stories in the wilderness years for the New Adventures and the spin-offs. But I agree, says Nigel, he has gone up his own arse since he got big. I've enjoyed some of the ghost stories for Christmas, but even they aren't as good as they were. I've never seen them. I've heard about them. I just assumed that it was a repeat every year, Nigel. Because that's what they do at Christmas, isn't it? They'll repeat things that are only shown once a year to get the money's worth. So I just thought it was, I didn't realize they were different every year.
Never watched them. Never watched them, to be quite honest.
No.
I saw some League of Gentlemen. I didn't watch all of it. I saw some of it, but I remember he was doing a guided tour, or he was playing a character that was doing a guided tour in some caves, and he just dropped in. And this is what I liked about it. They were constantly dropping in Doctor Who references, blatant, and I loved it. And in this scene I saw in caves, he said about this was where it was filmed for Revenge of the Cybermen with Tom Baker in 1975 or whatever. And I loved that. you know, I loved it because it kept Doctor Who in the public perception. But yeah, now I think he's just a pompous, arrogant dickhead. In my
It's
opinion.
interesting though, isn't it? Because with the Radio Times pushing out these stories constantly, and you know, they're trying to desperately keep Doctor Who in the public eye. It's not worked.
No,
It's not worked. It's gone. It's
no.
done. We've been saying for months and months, haven't we, Who viewers? The public, the British public, have walked away from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
They ain't coming back. It's gone. The show is a dinosaur. Has anybody said anything over the last few weeks about it, apart from all of us in fandom? No, nobody. Have you had anything? Have you had any knockweeds coming up saying, "No, it's Doctor Who"?
No, I don't. You know, people that I work with know I like Doctor Who and everything, and if they mention it, raise the subject. I mean, one of my colleagues turned out, and Paul, great guy from Liverpool, JT, and
he's all right then. Yeah, he's a good one. That one.
He confided in me that he found a work reason to give me a call, and then just sort of like dropped Doctor Who in there, and we ended up having a 2-hour conversation about Doctor Who, and he confided that he had some Cyberman heads like I do, and everything else. He's a big fan, but it's all classic stuff. It's all.
I hope he's subscribed to the channel.
I've told him about it, and I think he has actually. I will question him again on Monday, actually. But Paul, yeah,
Paul, if you're watching, welcome to the channel. Nice to see you, Lar. You're okay.
And well done on your award the other week at work. Much deserved.
Well done on your award, on your BAFTA or whatever it was. Yeah. We've got this from Lex, a super chat. Thank you, Lex. What about the 12-year-old who sent home from school wearing a Union Jack dress on Culture Day? It was shocking what the school did. Don't get me started on that school. I've tweeted them. Then how dare you?
The teacher's going to be looking for another job, I think.
Yeah, if you don't know this, because again, you're outside the UK, what this was is that there was a school in England who was celebrating Culture Day, whatever that is. It's these left-wing Guardian readings, champagne swizzling teachers being right on again, isn't it? Saying, oh, we've got to celebrate a culture. So basically, this bright young spark, this young lady turned up in a Jerry Hall from the Spice Girls Union Jack dress from the 90s. And the handbag,
wasn't it? Yeah. She looked great. She looked amazing. She looked fantastic.
She looked just like Jerry did. She really put the time in. She looked great.
And she'd done a speech, hadn't she? They had to do a speech
about British culture, and the school sent her home because it wasn't about British culture. Right now, as I said to the school when I tweeted them, we need to actually talk more about British culture because we're losing it on an hourly rate. The bloody school.
It was Bilton High School, which I think is in Rugby, in Warwickshire, which has not kept itself in good news this week because there was and some people love her and some people hate her. I think she's blisteringly funny. There was a sold-out Katie Hopkins show in Rugby tonight, and it was at a venue that she'd used last year and has booked next year. And is next to the police station, but the council cancelled it at the last minute.
I heard about this.
Whilst keeping everybody's money so far, and the claim was because it wasn't safe. That means lefty agitators would turn up, and the police wouldn't have been capable of doing their job. I don't know why. When it comes to kettling right-wing people, they seem to do quite a heavy-handed and violent job.
They'll lead them to where they need to go, won't they? As the videos prove, they will lead them to where they want to go to. Yeah. I mean, I did hear about that, and I felt I thought, no, you can't do that. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Stifling free speech. And Starmer's up there saying to Donald Trump, "We have free speech in Britain." No, we bloody don't.
No, we don't.
You know, we have
we're all living on the knife's edge.
Yeah.
We're terrified. We're absolutely terrified of what we can say. Digby Saints was here. Sadly, the plod pulled the same nonsense at the Cardiff Pride Parade, did they? Honestly, the busies are losing the plot, aren't they? It's all because, and I say this, they've been on unconscious bias training. That's what it is. And basically, unconscious bias training says that if anybody's white, they're the enemy. Anybody else, no, have sympathy with them. If anybody identifies as TQ, you know, or as part of the TQ cult, lay the love on. But anybody challenges them, have them. Heretic OSJC, allegedly. The Scottish police have said that the request of being pulled from Pride matches is just for the interim. Have they? They seem to think a High Court judgment is temporary. Their lawyers were clear. Oh, really? I didn't know this, heretic. That's winding me up. That it's the Supreme Court talking common sense. That's what I mean about all this bloody far left nonsense. That's Stonewall and all these idiots that have been charging these people taxpayer money to come into their places of work and preach to them. It's all paid for by the taxpayer. I mean, in a previous job I had, I refused to go on it and got into a lot of trouble. Did I care? No. There was no way I was going on that stuff. I told them exactly what I thought, and I told them exactly what I think the taxpayers' money shouldn't be spent on, and that was one of them. Unbelievable. Frankie, my friend Tom, hello Tom, was glad he left and retired from Police Scotland before it became far too woke.
Yeah, it's terrifying. All you want is the police to police. They police with consent, public consent, and they don't seem to be retaining public consent. They're getting public resentment, and it's all their own doing. And you just want them to be impartial and uphold the law and be civil. And they seem to be far from that. And ultimately, there is a growing feeling in this country that there will be severe civil unrest, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want it, and I'm certainly
no,
not
it's
calling.
going to be awful. But you're not thinking that part of that can be seen now already, because people are snapping. They're getting very. I mean, there's this old saying that I remember along the lines of, "It takes an awful lot to upset a Brit." It's now beginning to happen because you push us.
When you cross that line, God help you.
Yeah, because we'll laugh and joke up to a certain point because that's our way. But that, I think, all these authorities, entertainment, all this far left stuff, I think it's now a breaking point, personally.
I think when you've got things like Labour who are actively seeking to have a blasphemy law in favour of a specific religion, is like, drag us back to the 7th century, why don't you? But this isn't Britain. This isn't the British people. And nobody wants civil unrest. Nobody wants people at each other's throats for differences of religion or culture or anything else. But when you see things like that schoolgirl trying to just talk about British culture that she was proud of, being with others, apparently, segregated and told, no, your culture doesn't count, when it's the culture of the country they're in, is not good. And it is almost incitement to riot, because that's what it will do ultimately. Like I say, nobody wants it. And for any sort of like lefty melts that think, oh, whose views, let's report them, we're not calling for it, we're not suggesting it, we're certainly not wanting it, but I think it's very close on the horizon. And if it does happen, then the police will be wanting people's support, and they probably won't get it, and I'm not surprised.
There's just so many problems for those of you outside the UK with our beautiful country right now. I've said before, I'm terrified. I don't recognise this country. It's not the country I grew up in.
A lot changed with the death of Queen Elizabeth.
That as well. I mean, we've even got our own king who seems to be completely and utterly woke. And I'm very disappointed with him this week, I have to say.
He's more in with certain religions than the one that he's supposed to be the head of.
He's supposed to be leading, and he's upset an awful lot of Brits. But also, I think this is the result of, I said before, at the turn of the century, I was in various businesses in management, going to meetings when very early inclusive DEI policies were brought into place, mainly to ensure that people with a disability could be employed or were employable. So I remember in 1999, 2000 onwards, millions of businesses, buildings around the country had to have ramps put in, or lifts fixed or widened, or desks became an issue where you had to have them on stilts or lower them down so that wheelchairs could get all good stuff, how it should have been, so that because people have to work. So that was fine. But then it's been added to over the years by what I now know to be radical left-wingers, the hard left.
It's had mission creep, hasn't it? Any disabled person that's capable of working should be able to work and shouldn't be prevented from working because they can't get in, or in an emergency out of a bloody building.
It's come away from all of that now. It's come away from all that to where we're to the point where we're at now. And then I also remember as well, and I think this is part of the problem, and I think it started at the turn of the century, the late 90s upwards, where if you challenged something that was not recognizably British culture, you were called an ist. And I think that has now become part of our zeitgeist over all these years, to the point where we're all numb. You can't challenge anything. You can't say anything because it's ism or a phobia. And I think that's where we're all at. It's become part of the norm. And I think now people are waking up, not just in this country, but all over the world. I think people are waking up saying, no, hang on a minute. No, it's not. This is reality. It's nothing to do with a phobia. It's nothing to do with an ism. It's reality.
I think there was definitely a cultural sweet spot where there seemed to be parity. You know, the gay community had got equality, and at one point had actually, when it came to marriage and equal rights in the eyes of the law like that, probably had at one point more rights than straight people in marriage, because people that were in relationships where they weren't married didn't have some of the rights that gay people had in relationships.
Correct. Yeah,
But
we had that. They gave the LGBT community that token bit of paper where you could have whatever it was called. What was it called, guys? It wasn't a wedding as such, but it was a recognition of a partnership. I can't remember what it was now, because I remember thinking at the time, we're all loads of rubbish.
Civil partnership or something.
Yeah, the civil partnership. That's well done. And then the heterosexual says, "Well, hang on a minute, we haven't got that," and quite rightly. So they had to write it in law that if heterosexuals wanted it too, they could have it too.
That is equality.
Of course, but they don't seem to understand. And now, because we've got a whole load of idiots coming in with segregation, which they think is equality, because they like to have people badged and branded so they can understand them. Yeah. And they've ushered in segregation again. We are seeing problems, apart from the fact that everything else is open borders, etc., etc., etc. It's very frightening in Britain right now. I am frightened sometimes, and I'm 55 years old.
I saw a great little video on Insta yesterday. It was really funny. This lefty, virtue signaling lefty liberal woman went back in time to kill to the 1930s Germany, to kill a certain person with a little mustache, to therefore save the world and prevent all this. And she told him everything she believed in, and he was there going, yes, I believe in that too. Yes. And who do you find the problem? You find the Jews the problem. So do I. And there was this dawning realization on this woman that had gone back in time, and it was really quite amusing in a way that you knew that they wouldn't like it, which made it more amusing, really.
Let's get into the chat. We've got Demorpin here saying ideologically captured. Everything's been ideologically captured by these real hard left lunatics. Yeah. They've done a great job of getting in everywhere. It's disgusting in my eyes. Zach Witten, nice to see you, Zach. Welcome to Whose Views. The best thing about season 2 was Dug-a-Doo. What was that?
That was the episode that you didn't watch. It was something that looked like
Eurovision thing. Oh, was that the worm thing, the orange thing?
That looked like something off Sesame Street or the Muppets or something like that doing it.
Okay. Yeah, right, got you.
Thanks. More three-dimensional than Gatwa, anyway. Let's put it that way.
Stephen Braddock is saying, JT, they didn't just send her home; they put her in solitary the whole morning, away from the other pupils. That's just true. Till her father collected her. Also, children with Irish and Scottish flags were turned away. That school needs investigated. You know,
it does.
It needs investigated. That's disgusting.
But
again, it's ideologically captured. Yeah. I can't stand these schools, and I've in previous jobs I've been into them, and I've complained on behalf of the parents, because I don't know if the parents see this. If the parents knew some of the stuff that's going on in the schools, they pull the kids out of the schools. And I'm sick and tired of seeing the TQ cult flag and various political flags. And you know, there was in one particular room which was supposed to be modern studies, and I'm looking at all these political flags: the Black Lives Matter flag, the TQ cult flag, another thing I didn't agree with. And then I said to the teacher, where's the Union flag? Oh, we wouldn't put that up, because they're ashamed of our beautiful history. How dare they? You know, oh, we can't tell the children about World War II. Oh, we can't tell the children about the Tudors. Oh, we can't tell the children about the... Well, you bloody well should. And don't rewrite it. Honestly, these people make me sick. Yeah. Howdy, folks, says Geriatric. Hello, mate. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, for those of you just joining us, you are watching Whose Views. It's headlines. Yes, it is Saturday. It's good to see you. We're here with part 1 of our headlines. In this particular show, at the moment, we're supposed to be looking at Mark Gatiss and what he's been saying to the Radio Times this week as part of the BBC Writers' Room, which is a load of old poo. Yeah. We've got lots more coming for you tomorrow on Sunday at 8 o'clock as well. If you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please give us a subscription. If you've already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you're still subscribed, because as ever, I'm still getting the odd message that says, oh, I've been unsubscribed. I don't know what that's about. Honestly, it's still absolutely nothing to do with us. Legion of James is saying to us, this following orders rhetoric no longer cuts it for me. The line has been drawn in the sand, and you either grow a pair and stand up for what's right, or you are part of the problem. The problem is we've got a hell of a lot of usually middle class, not that well educated, obviously, lunatics running around thinking that, oh, I'm jumping on this bandwagon and not bothering to research. That's it. We had some of the marches today. They're against the law now, by the way, people. Stop it. You're not proving anything.
If only you had some kind of force that enforced the law, but we don't do it. Really.
Certain police forces seem to be actually doing it, but it's very lackluster. Yeah. Paul Rose, what you're saying to us, about time they banned all the face masks except for exemptions like motorcyclists, bad weather, Halloween. Nobody in day-to-day life needs to cover their face unless for a genuine medical reason. I agree with you, Paul. Cowards is what I call them. Cowards. They'll turn up in their mask. Cowards. Yeah.
They turn up in masks because they want to break the law and they don't want to be identified whilst doing it. That's why they wear the masks at these counter protests or whatever. Like we saw the other day in Epping at the protest.
Epping.
Assault. The police marched in, they escorted in the counter protesters, and then it kicked off. Who'd have thought it? You know.
Do you know? I was so annoyed by that. I couldn't believe what I was seeing live on XC, and couldn't believe it. And the protesters were not right wing, like serious people would say they were. They were mothers and fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, aunties,
but those are the people
and
that
children.
But they're the people Starmer has labelled as right wing, far right.
Of course he has. But there were children there as well. It was the local community because of a incident we're probably not allowed to talk about at a local hotel, and they had gone to say no. They were exercising their legal right, and I couldn't believe the footage where these people who were bound to cause trouble were being led towards them by the United Kingdom British police. And then when all hell breaks loose, they're all wandering around going, oh, what's happened? Duh. The ones that got me as well, it was the mothers who were terrified for their children and grabbed the children. Those kids, they're never going to forget that. Those poor little kids, you know. They had to get them out there very quickly.
To remember, and again, I'm not advocating this, and I'm not saying it's good, and I'm not calling for it, for the record, again, because you know sometimes some people they need to keep hearing that, otherwise they'll get the wrong idea. But the police today should take a long, hard look at themselves, and they should have a look to the protests, I think, which were also bad on both sides, but the protests for the miners' strike in the mid-'80s. Some of those where people turned on the police were horrific, and there were lots of people, and the police in some respects didn't know what had hit them, and they need to be very, very careful, because any kind of like explosion of rage, public rage, that might come as a result of this will dwarf that, and I don't think they'd be able to cope. So they should start policing again rather than enabling the far left.
I don't think they can.
No.
I think they've employed too many people now who are so used to the way they do it now. I don't think they know what policing means, because they're all. I've seen some of them on the videos. That some of them are, well, no, I won't say anymore. But some of them are, well, they would need investigations and fired. Really, this is a government problem as well. Everybody's turning a blind eye to reality, because they're turning a blind eye to reality because they don't want to be known as an Isterophobe or a not. So they turn a blind eye. It's about time they started looking at the situation correctly, you know, because they're creating issues day after day after day. Sink194, it's good to see you. I used to be a police officer for a short time. It was not fun. I bet it wasn't, but well done on trying. Well done on trying. I couldn't do it. Not a chance. I haven't got any time for the busies, to be quite honest. And Zach Witten, I'm hoping Doctor Who doesn't come back until all the Fitzroy Tavern crew have retired. Well, that's due. But these creatives have a habit of being around. But they are all of retirement age now, to be quite honest. It's a good point, Zach. It's just BBC Studios seem to think that they can only do Doctor Who with RTD's involvement. We're always saying on this show, to BBC Studios, would you get over it? He's just killed the biggest show you've got. You've lost another one. Top Gear has gone. Strictly isn't doing as brilliant as it should be doing.
MasterChef, let's look at that one.
MasterChef, yeah. Doctor Who. It's not leaving you with much, is it? BBC Studios as a commercial enterprise. Leave him alone. Let him go. Let him do his TQ rubbish for Channel 4 and get somebody in that knows how to do Doctor Who, and then get back to 1963 and 89 and look at the show. And the secret of the show is the Doctor and his TARDIS and a load of monsters. Thank you very much. It's not rocket science. Matthew Pound is saying to us, Gatiss starred in the 2005 Creative Fast TV film that was dreadful. Wasn't Tennant in that as well? I think Tennant was in that.
I think he might have been. Yeah.
I watched it, Matthew, for about 15 minutes and thought, not a chance. Click. What rubbish was that? It was wooden, wasn't it? Absolutely wooden. I don't think it did very well for them all because it didn't go to a series. Tim Kintz, nice to see you. I hope you're well. When you can't express your own culture, you've been told your duty is to be nothing at all. There's loads I could say, but I'll probably get told off. I have my own personal opinions of why they've been winding down British culture. Heretic, Wings Over Scotland, a great group. If you're on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, look up Wings Over Scotland and give them a subscription because they are great. We'll keep you up to date with loads of news there. They shared the document which says, Police Scotland have assured us this is an interim position for a full assessment. Well, have they really? I'll go and look at that because I haven't been on there for a while, but I'll go and have a look. The teachers, says Bill Larry, at Bilston, were reported as having read the speech the girl was going to give and then sent her home. Oh, after the isolation thing, or whatever you call it.
There was nothing wrong with her speech. Her speech was fine. Her speech was perfect.
Wow. Lots of you in the chat with us this Saturday evening. Great to see you all. Thank you very, very much. Arjon was just responding to me there saying, yeah, it was Civil Partnership. I couldn't remember the name. I just remember as well, at the time, Arjon, thinking, why? Why bother? I've never really... And just to point out to anybody new, I am a gay man myself. I'm same-sex attracted. I've never understood why gay men or gay women want to get married. It just doesn't compute with me at all. I'm not against it. Don't each to their own. But I'd run for the hills. Oh God, no, thank you. I just don't get it. It's just me. It's just me. Sorry.
Maybe it's symbolic that you can do it just like everybody else, so everybody's equal.
It was certainly down to equality, wasn't it? It was absolutely, it was fine. It wasn't. It's just personally not for me. But there you go. I just thought it was funny. What are we doing? Martin Duff, nice surprise for Saturday night with the Who's Views broadcast. Greetings. Hello, Martin. Nice to see you. And Paddy
That's
and
a fine diesel engine he's got in his icon there.
He did, from the old days. I think it was the happy days. At least you were late but knew where you were. And Paddy and I, nice to see you both without that back to work tomorrow morning feeling. That's the good thing about Saturday night broadcast, isn't it? It is. This is good, that one. What else have we got here? What's Craig saying to us? Hello, Craig. RTD should be forced to wear a mask for medical reasons. The sight of his smug, fat face makes me physically nauseous. Suppose you're not the only one. Lots of people in the chat with us this night. Ian, look at this. Great to see everybody here.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Raymond saying to us,
brilliant.
Yeah, the police are just a tool for the government, says Raymond. This government organised the leftist protesters. As for wearing masks, maybe police officers didn't want to be identified. And thank you for the super chat, Marie. UK, D and I and the police are protecting the middle class. They no longer hide the disdain for the working class. There's lots of issues like that going on, Marie, isn't there? Really, really is. I miss the 90s.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yes. Already, was it?
We had issues. Don't get me wrong, but I think Britain was a much healthier, prosperous country, and we knew who we couldn't like, and we were sensible, and we had British common sense.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm trying to get at there. Pete Harrington, it's 10 green bottles with the BBC. What's next to fall? I tell you, every day there's a problem with the BBC, and there's something going to come out every single day, because it's not good. It's not good, the BBC.
And they continue, like we've seen with Davey, for different reasons as the one that I'm going to reference, but they keep protecting people and shielding people, and people aren't forced to fall on their sword like they should be. And yet when they have the Savile inquiry and the investigation into him and everything, it was exactly that reason that he was able to do what he could do for such a long period of time, that he was protected, that they didn't want to investigate, that they just turned a blind eye. And they'll said, we'll learn lessons from that. We won't do it again. And yet here we are, still seeing the BBC protecting people. And it's wrong. It doesn't just have to be for the kind of things that Savile was doing. There are people at the BBC who should not be in a job.
Well, look at the newsreader that we reported on last year.
Yeah.
He didn't go down, did he? He didn't go to the prison. No. And apparently he's still got the BBC pension, which was worth millions.
Yeah.
That should be paid back to the BBC, i.e. the
children. Yeah. You can have pictures of children, you can circulate them, you can do all this, and you can do it by having people in awe of your BBC fame and everything else, and not go to prison. But a mother can do a tweet for 4 hours and get 31 months. That's how screwed this country is.
Well, it's just one of the examples. Enspiel is saying, bring back proper monsters. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful to have a Doctor Who with proper monsters in it every week as well, or every 4 weeks if you had it my way, you'd have a serial. That would be fantastic. And Stevie and Jeannie
a few people in suits, not CGI.
No, I would like to see the return of men in rubber suits, to be quite honest. I think they could do it properly these days. And Stevie and Jeannie Frisk saying Gatiss is either fine with RTD killing it because they're buddies, or he's done with it and he wants it rested. Now, actually, that's a point, Steve and Jeannie, because as part of this interview with the Radio Times Writers' Room, whatever you want to call it, he actually does think that Doctor Who has currently had its day. He does go on about how he says that it's 20 years old. That's a good run, and it's almost on a par with the original series. That's amazing. And he says, but it is possibly time for it to have a rest. Bearing in mind that all these people here are thinking about or talk about it all the time to each other, and they're all aware of each other, they must all be saying that. And one of the reasons I think that it does need the rest, of course, is because after the nonsense that Chibnall did, instead of reinventing it and making it exciting, a family drama, a good science fiction, RTD decided to do what he did, the virtue signaling hard left bull, and he killed it. And it could have been a completely different story. It could have been amazing. I would, in hindsight, have also said no to Ncuti Gatwa. But Russell was in charge. That's what Russell wanted. All the sheep followed him. And look where you are now.
Crazy, isn't it?
Terrible.
I mean, one thing that is quite offensive is comparing it to the classic series. Because, all right, it's done 20 years. The classic series did 26. But in those 26 years, it did 26 seasons. In 20 years here, it's done 15. So it's no comparison at all, really. And it was on for longer. It was on for longer. And, we've talked about Hartnell and Troughton working for 48 weeks in a year when it was on screen, and yet Gatwa, he can't do 8 episodes because he's such a delicate little flower.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about that particular subject in tomorrow's show, by the way, because yes, even though we talked a bit about Gatwa last week on the Sunday show last week on the BBC, that story hasn't gone away for Doctor Who this week as well, and various other people have been really milking what he said on that interview. So if you haven't seen it yet and you want to, go and have a look at the interview, because we'll probably come back to it tomorrow if we've got time in tomorrow's show as well, because just very quickly, because I'm sick and tired of talking about that nonsense as well. John is saying, yes, Tennant was in it. They even changed the dialogue to say, good to see you, Doctor, because he had just been given the Doctor Who job, even though it wasn't public yet. Oh, really? Aren't they clever? Ha, ha, ha. And Bundy 4077, hello there. I read the latest page in Doctor Who magazine, a bit biased towards RTD, I think. A bit. I cannot believe that. We're coming to Doctor Who magazine shortly. I cannot believe that magazine. All it was how wonderful was the reality war, and how wonderful was Shooty, and how brilliant was the series, and how excited they were. Doctor Who magazine, we've talked about them before. What a waste of space you are. You can't be really selling much as well, because you, like the main show, have alienated millions of your readers and subscribers. Surely you're hanging by a thread, and that's
it hasn't got long for this world, has it? Really?
No, it can't do. Tell the truth. And again, it's told people like us, the original people that supported it for 15 years when it didn't even have a show to base itself on, and yet did some really good stuff. It's told us you're not wanted anymore, and all we want is the TQ cult and all these stupid little pronoun using kids. Well, how's that going for you? I cannot believe it. And even some of the people, the fans that are older, who are just going along with it because it's Doctor Who on the name, because they can't let go. But Bundy, you're right. It was sickening, wasn't it? Absolutely sickening. Stephen Genie Frith again. Anyone remember Probe? Didn't Gatiss rate most of those? More Liz Shaw was never a bad thing. He did, as far as I remember. Isn't that right, Ian?
I believe so. Yeah, I never saw any of the Probes.
I did.
But yeah, no, more Liz Shaw is never a bad thing. Carrie,
well, we can't use it now, sadly.
Yeah, was amazing.
I remember not being that impressed with them.
They were all that era, even the ones with the Doctors like Airzone, were all fairly watered down because they were exceptionally low budget, weren't they?
Very low budget. Yeah,
probably went on getting the people to act in it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mark Beeves has given us a super chat. This is a ridiculous story from Mark. Mark, I'm sorry to hear this. I was taken to court late last year, says Mark, for hurting a guy who tried to mug a lady in town. The case was brought by the mugger. Thankfully, he lost. How dare he?
The fact that even got to court shows you what a state this country's in.
Doesn't it just? Mark went to aid somebody. That's what happens. And then people today are saying, why is all this stuff going on? And why doesn't anybody get involved? Because we know we're going to be the ones that get sent to prison. Like our Mark has done here. He had to go to court. The mugger brought the charges. As far as I'm concerned, that mugger had no right at all to do that.
No.
I hope the lady was okay, Mark, and I hope you were okay. And thank God, some common sense came.
But good on you for intervening, Mark.
Yeah,
you did the right thing. The law was enough.
Yeah, you do. You have to think twice about before you get in there, because you could be hauled up.
Yeah,
it makes me sick. If they made 2005 Doctor Who today, says P. Ferreira, it would be totally on brand in matching the quality. I really didn't like 2005 Doctor Who. It's strange you should say that, because we're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes' time. It's good to see you all. Thank you all so much for joining us for this Saturday evening headlines. And Forbidden Man saying JT tried to catch us out by doing this tonight. Yes, and it didn't work, did it? It did not work. Sliver Wolf is with us saying, I miss the 80s and 90s. So do I. I keep saying there were issues. I know, as a gay man, I know there were issues. I know. I had that firsthand several times in the 80s and 90s. But I felt safer to an extent than I do today. Isn't that ridiculous? Especially in the later 90s as well. Yeah.
Same for the 70s. I mean, I remember more of those than you will, but you were safe. You know, I mean, there was obviously still crime, and you hear more about it now because of social media spreads the word more. But yeah, you know, you could genuinely play out all hours of the day and come back for your tea and then go out again and come back later. And your parents didn't know where you were, but you were generally safe on the whole. Whereas now it'd be dangerous just walking down the street. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Sad as well.
I remember coming out of clubs in London in the late 90s and into the 2000s at 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and walking around in central London perfectly. Didn't care. Felt safe. I wouldn't do it now.
Early hours of a few mornings in the mid-1980s, walking through London back to Wellington Barracks, where we were based at the time, and no hassle.
There was that. I remember when I was there at the late 90s, when you came out of the clubs at that time in the morning, there was this sort of peculiar London smell that only London had as well at that time in the morning. I now think it was pollution, but I don't know. It was a sort of, it wasn't fresh air like you would get anywhere else, especially up in Scotland. But there was a particular hue in the air, and it was a calming sort of thing. But as I say, we would feel safe as the sun was coming up and we were trying to go and get a night bus, or we were going to go back to the car, where you would feel safe. Yeah. Wouldn't do it now at all, because you look at what's going on down there. I know, and other places, it's complete lunacy. RTT's Dalek in his garden sums up Doctor Who, full of weeds and falling to bits. It fits the bill, says Pete Harrington. Yeah, that's true. Enspiel saying the BBC has long since been unfit for purpose, and don't we know that? I mean, come on. Absolutely. Legion of James, I agree, JT. I never thought I'd be sitting at the age I am now, having lived through what we did, and be saying I miss the 90s. Sad times indeed. We are regressing scarily quick. I'd say by the minute. And it's all, I reckon, I personally, I blame these far left ideological nutters. They're the ones that have brought all this on. They're going to destroy Western society. Let's see where that gets them to, eh? Let's see how their children manage with a different culture's law scheme going on. Good grief. What else have we got? P. Ferreira saying, why do we need to bring back proper monsters? RTD fills that quota. Okay, I'll get my coat.
Yeah, out. Can we get the bouncers in?
And we've got here...
I think he's been a bit cheeky there.
He was, but it was funny. Stephen O'Neill saying, Film 4 have recently been showing the Peter Cushing Doctor Who films, far better than the last 8 years of Doctor Who. I know I have managed to catch them over the last few days because they put them on at different times. And I've managed to catch both Daleks and Doctor in the Daleks and Daleks Invasion of the Earth 2150. They are playing the new 4K editions that were released a couple of years ago as well. They look stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. But I agree, Stephen. I'm sitting there watching the Peter Cushing films for the umpteenth time. Sometimes, I think I must have watched them about twice each this week because they're on. I think, well, I'll watch that. And I did on the second show, and I thought, I've watched this now more than a Shooty Gatwa episode because it's far better.
Those films. I love those films, and I would encourage anybody to go back on the Who's Views back catalogue and watch our appreciation of those films from last year. They are wonderful pieces of Doctor Who history.
They were wonderful, weren't they? But they've stood the test of time more than Gatwa's RTD's version, I'll tell you. Hello, William. How are you, mate? William Orlock 86. Daleks, Cybermen, Santarans, along with Chelonians, Virans, and Sild would be my regular monsters. The Virians and Sild, I don't remember them. They must be New Adventures. Were they right?
I'm struggling for those. The Chelonians, though, they were Gareth.
No.
Weren't they?
Yeah, Gareth, yeah. Chelonians are now. What else we got? Julianne is saying it's been an increasingly rapid decline since the early 2000s. That's British society as well as Doctor Who. I think sometimes they go hand in hand.
Well, there was a certain change in government in '97, and I'm not saying it was it didn't kick out something that was equally catastrophic, but from '97 things went a little bit, in the wrong direction.
Yeah. What else we got? I do, Steve Henley, who's saying to us, remember when Doctor Who magazine used to be critical of a story? Yes, a Happy Days. They were very, very, very balanced. Not anymore, just like the TV show. There must have been some sort of in-house setting to say Doctor Who is no longer for this demographic. We want it for this demographic. And that's it. It must have been, because Doctor Who magazine changed more or less overnight, as did the TV show. So I'd say towards the end of Moffat, maybe. And certainly...
I think it was when it started getting infiltrated by crystal meth.
That's sort of nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, and they changed the time team for more of her pals, or what seemed to be her pals. And you thought, you're all coming from a certain perspective. And they were desperate to get a little foothold and legitimacy in the series, weren't they? So they would do that and suck up to it because they thought, we'll be brought in on stuff like Confidential or whatever, and of course they were ultimately.
Well, I mean, I will never forgive the insanity of recasting the Time Team. I used to love the Time Team when it was
Yeah.
done with the adults, and the adults were looking at the reviews just like we do on the show, on our channel, of Doctor Who, and being, as fans do, discussing it. I used to love reading that, you know. And then, of course, they were all replaced, and BC brought in this new woke-lot who destroyed the absolute magic of the entire feature, to the point where they took it away, especially after the Talons of Wayne Chiang woke nonsense, where they were all so horrified with the look of it. Oh, we can't possibly. Now, some of them, as we know, are still employed by BBC Studios and Panini to do stuff. In fact, one of the girls that I just haven't got the time for, has a new CD audio coming out, as well as a new quiz book. Oh, come on. It's who these people are not making you any money, BBC Studios. It's what they think. Oh, this is the market we want. It hasn't worked for you. Give it up. It's been nearly 20 years. It's not worked. Give it up.
Absolute desperation. It really is.
What have we got here from Fan01ish? Yes, Doctor Who magazine finally did some reviews of season 2 episodes, and guess what? They were all brilliant, apparently. Yes, I read them again this week as well. Not worth talking about, because I just thought, oh, please, no, not bothering to even report them on this show, not at all. What else have we got here? Edward is saying to us, I've just got back from seeing Superman, and it's great. If you're interested, by the way, on Monday night here on the channel at 8 o'clock, we've got the second in our new series of Whose Views. What's it called? I've forgotten. It's late at night. What have I called it? Recommends. Whose Views recommends. We'll be here to talk about Superman. So if you had got, and at that point, I also add 2025. So if you have been to see the latest Superman, come and join the chat on Monday night when we're talking about that, and see whether or not we recommend it to you. Yeah, I saw it in the week, but I'm not saying anything until Monday. Thank you for that. What we got here? Mark, thank you for your super chat. Both fine, thanks. Sarah is now a good friend. Well, good for you, Mark. I'm glad you're okay, the both of you. Good to hear. And I'm sorry you went through what would have been a very stressful, intense waste of time, to be quite honest.
And say hi to Sarah and get her to subscribe.
Yeah, tell her we're asking for her. Edward is saying to us, I have the 9th Doctor audios on pre-order. Okay, in that case, Edward, you might not like this next story at all. Yeah. Because we're going to go to that one now. The new Doctor Who magazine was out this week. And as I say, I, as usual, went along to my local Tesco, sat in the cafe and had a look at it. What a load of old poo it is. I can't be done with it. Yes, the letters page was full of fawning. Oh, it's brilliant. It's wonderful. It's marvellous. Isn't Shooty fantastic? All the usual nonsense. The reviews of some of the episodes for Series 2 were, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. They're all on blooming drugs. I'll tell you. Absolutely outrageous. Also, Doctor Who magazine, or is it my imagination, dear Who viewer, has become, over the last God knows how many years, just a mouthpiece and free marketing for Bog Fanish, because the thing is full of it. Not just on the front cover with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper, but on the back cover with the Jodie Whittaker series that's launched or about to be launched. Wasn't really interested. Not to mention reviews and previews of their content in there. It's so incestuous, this thing now. It really is. It's not what they know. They're all click. It drives me bloody mad. Anyway, but this is what we're coming to now, Ian. It's Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. Now, I don't know if this is their first series of audios together. Do you?
I don't actually. No, I
don't care
quite
enough, to be
happily
honest.
disconnected myself from Bog Fanish a long time ago, and I have no interest in it whatsoever. Nothing at all. So I couldn't tell you if this is the first time or if it's a reunion, really. But it looks nauseating, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now, talking of nauseating, I read the article. And I'm not going to go through it all because it was all utter flannel. It dealt with all the usual stuff about plugging the adventures. Is that an old-fashioned term? The adventures for this series. If you are following this stuff, by the way, good for you, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope they're good. But I can't be arsed with it. But yeah, they talked about the setup and people that were joining them for the series and stuff. It was all waffle, 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 waffle. It was all the usual sort of, oh, aren't we big? Aren't we clever? Aren't we wonderful? Oh, it's wonderful to be here. So I want to come into this article and the various pieces in it at this particular point here. Also up for discussion as ever is the topic of AI, which wasn't really troubling us back in the days when Rose Tyler was trying to get her Nokia mobile phone to make a trans-temporal call. Chris and Billy, it turns out, have similar views on how technology impacts their lives. It's very current, isn't it, says Chris when asked for his reflections on AI. Keir Starmer's talking about it at the moment. I know how threatening it is to people, to myself and others, with the replication of voice and performance. I'm really a bit of a Luddite about these things and the internet generally. I'm very pleased that I grew up without all that. I was in my 30s before I first got one of these. He raises his phone, and I'm very glad of that. I feel it gives me an independence that children coming through don't have. That's interesting to remember that, people, because I think he does have a point. I know that in our film world, there are times when AI is really useful and cost effective, offers Billy, but it's also a bit troubling. I try not to engage with even the concept of AI, which may be neglectful, but I just can't take that stress on as well as everything else. I'll do what I need to do, but I'm not very techie. I still read books that I can touch. I learn lines from paper scripts. It makes me sound like a Puritan, but I'm even thinking about getting a Nokia. I was thinking that today. I just want to reject all of it. And the reason I want to reject all of it is because I have a much greater sense of freedom without it. My son's school has now said no more phones, and I'm pleased about that, said Chris, alert to the influence social media is having. I think it's slowly seeping through that there's more bad than good. Okay. We'll come to that in a second. But I mean, we've been speaking about AI, haven't we, Ian, for a little bit of time now over the last year here on the show, because we've got Doctor Who fans, and like it or not, in Wilderness Years Volume 2, AI is going to be part of what they're doing. And we've seen that from Midjourney and others, where they've taken things and they've made animations, and it's getting better every day. I understand, though, however, where Chris and Billy are coming from. I have said before, I am still although I'm intrigued and I look at this stuff, especially from Midjourney, for example, I go, my God, that's incredible. That's amazing. Look at the things you could do. When it comes to other things like they're doing, like inserting dead actors into stuff or using their voices, that concerns me about the effect it can have on society, where you could actually, and I've seen this, apparently this happens now, you can insert somebody into a photograph. Now, surely for when it comes to real stuff or criminality and stuff like this is a danger.
Huge danger. Yeah, because as technology advances, it becomes more and more flawless. And you're not just inserting somebody. If you took a photo from, say, 1950s and inserted yourself into it, there would be a certain mix of technologies. The version of you that was being inserted into this picture would be crisper, more definition than that. So you'd have to, the AI would treat it what you would have to do, say, in Photoshop manually. AI can do much, much better and much, much quicker to grade everything so it looked the same and almost be indistinguishable. So if it was evidence in a criminal case, it would be a lot harder, really. A lot harder.
It's interesting though as well, because what got me when I'm reading this, and I've read this a couple of times. Oh, thank you for that, Frankie. Thank you very much. If I ever come back up to Glasgow, I'll have to grab a coffee. I don't go to Glasgow that often because I don't feel safe in Glasgow anymore. But anyway, you have to pay to get in. I'm never going to pay to get into Glasgow. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I was reading this and I read it a couple of times. Now, bearing in mind as well that we know that what Big Finish has just allegedly had to do with an AI project. I'm going to be very careful with my words here, obviously. Here they are talking about it amongst themselves in this. The industry has been shaken up by this, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, very much so.
So where do they go? What do you think of views? Where are they going to go? Are they going to try and capture themselves just for the sake of a quick buck into their own pocket rather than working in partnership with somebody else? But what do you think? I think Chris and Billy have a point there. I think I agree with Eccleston in the fact that, you know, I am so glad I was brought up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because I was actually one of the first generation that sold mobile phones. And if I'd known what we were selling was going to mutate into where we are, I might not have bothered. Because you couldn't even text on the phones we were selling back on the old analog.
No, blimey.
You know, we were selling them basically. We were selling them basically as security phones in case the car broke down. Not one of us thought that it was going to turn into a mini computer in your pocket. You know, absolutely.
Mate of mine, we would go once a week and we'd go play a few games of snooker. And he was on call for his local business, and he would have the work mobile phone. And it was literally a standard telephone handset connected to a modest size flight case, which was essentially the battery in the aerial. And he had to carry that around with him. That was a mobile phone in the mid-80s. And it could do nothing apart from connect to the phone network and make a call, just like the old car phones could in the 60s and 70s. But that was it. And they've come so far. It's gone a blister. Yeah. As soon as you get the technology, then it's all about refining it. And it's been the same with AI. You know, they've got the technology, like ChatGPT really shook things up 3 or 4 years ago. And now that's stemmed to where we are now. It's I mean, I kind of like it, to be fair, bit of a techie anyway, so I like it and see rather than risks and stuff. But there are definite dangers. Anything can be misused, though, can't it? I mean,
totally.
Yeah, you don't have to just look at modern technology. Anything can be misused.
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually appreciate what Piper was saying there, because I was in oh God, was it? It might have been Tesco or something like that, because everywhere seems to have mobile phones these days. And I actually saw an old Nokia, and it took me right back to the old days where I thought, what I could do with this. Because you know what I'm sick of, Who Viewers? Having bloody apps and QR codes enforced on me.
Yeah.
I am sick of it. Not all of us use apps and QR codes. You know, I don't have the internet connected to the phone when I'm out the house, and people think I'm odd. You have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. It's a lot of money. That's insane. Why would you do that? No, I have to be somewhere to hook up to their internet. Otherwise, I won't use it. So if I'm out in the car, if I'm out of it, I'm out just like I used to be in the old days, you know. And I don't understand the phone now either, Ian. You can't even text somebody now without doing this and this and this. And what's this 4K nonsense? I don't get it. I don't care. I'm a man of my time. I don't care. I don't want it. I was brought up with the phone on the wall. And when you started going out to the pub and the club, you sorted it all out on the Friday, Saturday night, met with somebody in a pub. And if you were out, you were out. You know, that was it. It was
so everybody being accountable now and everybody being contactable and everything. It's much, much different than how it used to be. And well, people still did things. People did more things, to be quite honest, because you were able to socialize better. But now a lot of the time people have their conversations on one text platform or another. And it's, be it ordinary SMS or WhatsApp or other messaging systems, there's a lot of them. And it's taken a certain amount of interaction, positive interaction, away from people, because some people now are just so socially inadequate because everything they do is behind a screen.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? And you see them walking in the street like that all the time. That winds me up as well. I feel so lucky that I was brought up and I was born when I was brought up. I know certain generations will look at us with disdain and nastiness. I don't care. I know how to party. I have done, to the point where my body's falling to bits now. But you know, I know how to walk down the street. I know my manners. I know how to communicate with people. I know how to spell properly. I know how to talk correctly. I'm sick and tired though of having these bloody things pushed on me. Banking, you can't go into a bank anymore. You have to do it all online. You know, these QR codes. I know we use one for Who's Views, but I felt that was because we should. I hate doing it.
If they're in wide use and you want to engage, you've got to dance with the devil a little bit, haven't you? If it's out there, if it's in wide use,
but you go to restaurants now, Ian, and you can see QR codes to order your food. Get a grip. I want somebody coming over to me and treating me like a human being and making me feel special for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Sheila B is saying to us here, I use an electric wheelchair and get a lot of trouble from people who think I should be subservient and keep out of their way. As I go by, they shout, "You're welcome." Some people have become so nasty. I totally agree with you. And I'm very sorry that you get that. Do you know what annoys me on your behalf, Sheila B? People who bloody park on the pavements. So, you know, I'm always saying, people that let their people who let their hedges go over the side because they can't be bothered or too lazy to trim them. You have to think about people who have access the public right away. And I'm always saying, you can't park like that, because if somebody's coming along with a wheelchair, they're stuck until you get off your fat ass and come back and move the car. You're right, though. Some people are quite nasty about it. But you know what? I think you have to be yourself sometimes as well and give it back.
Yeah, deliver it back, definitely.
You know, put them in their place. Hartnell's Ghost is saying to us, I cancelled my Doctor Who magazine subscription after the Time Team changed to age 1723 and they watched Classic Who at 1.5 speed. I know, I couldn't believe it. There was no criticism there was no criticism of Jodie and no response to my email complaints, so I cancelled. Well, good for you. I think a lot of people started to then. And I remember what Doctor Who magazine was saying at the time as well is, that's where for me the alarm bells started ringing off, saying, oh, we need a new voice, we need the new generation voice. And I'm thinking, why? They're not all buying your magazine. Matthew Pound is saying Doctor Who magazine went down in 2005. It did. It lost a certain magic, I think, when the show came back.
Yeah, I think you're right. There was something about that. It had a more of a community feel, if that's the right term, in the wilderness years, because we were all trying to keep something that was actually really, really good alive, just keep the memory going, make sure it was never forgotten. And we were all sort of like pulling in the same direction. And as soon as it got to 2005, there was an excitement there. And that's when it sort of like upped its game, didn't it? And it got a spine and everything. It was like a proper magazine and it felt more grown up.
It looked great.
Yeah, but it very rapidly became a mouthpiece for RTD.
That's where it's. I think part of the license continuing was you will do what we tell you.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Weren't they threatening to take it in-house at one point as well, the BBC?
There was a rumour. Do you remember that rumour that they were taken into BBC magazines, which BBC magazines, pardon the pun, folded? Because remember, it was all signed off to whoever owns the Radio Times now. So Panini might have got it back anyway. Stupid business decisions. Lex, thank you for your comment here. Have you noticed science fiction magazines have got less content? Some of it's woke and between £10 onwards. It's what a rip-off. Thank God for Who's Views. Oh, well, thanks, Lex. I have noticed it. Have you seen SFX recently? It's not worth the money, is it?
I used to subscribe to that.
It used to be a big hefty jump. Now you can shake it like this.
Wow.
You know, it's ridiculous. I have to tell you as well, Doctor Who magazine, went in on Thursday for my coffee to look at this, to see if there's anything for us here at the show to discuss Who Viewers. 4 on the shelf. I was in there yesterday getting a bit of shopping. 4 on the shelf. I'm counting them. I am, Ian. Martin Duff is saying, spot on. Doctor Who magazine has become little more than a trade magazine for Bog Fanish. Stevie and Jeannie Frith. I love it when Talons makes woke kids uncomfortable. I cannot wait for the day, Stephen and Jeannie Frith, that we do our review of Talons of Wayne Chang. I keep saving it for a moment when I'm really pissed off with them. It's on the way. It's on the way. Marie UK is saying, I was listening to Ken Dodd, Happiness, to cheer myself up after work. It's a good song to do that, isn't it? Do you know it was #1, Marie? Doddy had a #1 with that, Happiness, here in the UK. It's good, isn't it? I don't mind. I used to play that on my radio.
Was that late 60s? Was it?
Middle 60s, about 63, 64, somewhere about that, I think.
Right, okay. He had a cracking voice, didn't he? Incredible voice.
All-round genius. If you're interested in Ken Dodd, let me just throw in now that there's a Doddy museum in Liverpool, down on the Albert Dock. I can't wait to get back down to look at it. I can't wait. I want to see the Diddy Men. I used to love them when I was a boy. Forbidden Man, back to the point, is saying to me here, AI will be used in propaganda. I think it already has started to be used in propaganda. Yeah. And I think people are falling for it. And this is why I'm frightened of it, Forbidden Man. Creativity side of it, different set of rules and lots of problems that need to be worked out. But I think you're absolutely right, my friend. And I look at some of this stuff now and I think that doesn't look right. But my eye is untrained. I don't know. Surely younger generations should be able to see through it. And then I think to myself, well, no, because some of them are thick as pig, aren't they? And they won't.
Oh yeah.
Jump on the bandwagon. Have you seen some of the stuff coming through from you know what's going on? And I just think to myself, that's not right.
There's a lot of people of a certain age that will believe absolutely anything that they see online. Absolutely anything. That they do not have that ability to discern what is correct and what is absolute horse crap. They just can't. They just believe everything.
This is the danger, though. This is what I'm saying. And as man was saying, though, it'll come into propaganda. I'm concerned that it will be used to try and clear villains, or to show that somebody was somewhere they shouldn't have been, or whatever, or changing historical facts. You know, I'll give you the big one here. The TQ cult has rewritten LGB history to say that a trans woman started the Stonewall riots. It's a lie. They always point to a character called Marsha P. Johnson, who was a gay man in drag and who wasn't anywhere there on that 1969 because he was off his tits several blocks away. You know, it's a lie. But they won't listen to the fact. They won't listen to somebody like Fred Sargent, who's a hero of the LGBT, because he was there that night. He's one of the last remaining people who was there on that night. He's telling them what happened. Blah, 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 blah. White noise. They don't want to know about it. So I'm expecting something now where there'll be any day now an AI version of Marsha shoehorned in with a brick, and they'll all follow that. And yet it's a lie. You know, he wasn't there. He wasn't transgender. There's a video on YouTube you can see where he says, "Don't call me that. I'm gay." He was a drag queen, for heaven's sake. And as I say, he wasn't even bloody there. This is what frightens me about all this, everybody. You know, so I understand where Chris and Billy are coming from on all this. To an extent, Sheriff Brackett has come up with something fantastic here. AI, the alternative to intelligence.
That is very good, Sheriff Brackett. Very good.
Very good. I like that one as well. Glad Eccleston came back for Bog Vanish, says Stevie and Jeannie Frith. RTD does not deserve his talent. And Killbot Kill, good to see you. How are you? Doctor Who magazine is a steaming pile of Dug-a-Doo these days. Only praise for Gatwa and RTD. And Bog Vanish, because obviously the partnership there is very, very strong.
Yeah.
Let's keep your chats coming. Let's get back into that. Always Mark Jones with this thing. Ken Dodd beat the Beatles, help to be the best-selling single. 65 with Tears. That was another huge one, wasn't it? Yeah. Fantastic. Jess is though just
the Beatles at the height of their powers as well.
The Beatles 65, yeah. Jess, I can't wait to see the BBC replaced by AI. Surely some of their news shows already have been.
Well, their social responses weren't they? Because there was that feature last year where AI was writing certain things.
And they said they were going to continue to do that with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Really? I wonder. I'm not convinced either. And our John's just informed me. I knew it was going to happen. JT, the TQ cult have already manipulated photos of old Pride marches to include pro-T signs, which were not there. This is the problem when you've got bandwagon jumpers, isn't it, our John, who will jump on anything the internet says, like Ian says here. In our day, you had to go to a library to get your history and you had to get your facts. And I can say to you, I always say to people when I'm arguing with them on this stupid thing, go to a library and look at anything printed before 2018 for the real history of what happened at Stonewall, because that is what was done beforehand. How come a whole load of millions of gay men and women know that particular story, although some of them, of course, have jumped on the bandwagon and have denied it now, you chasers. You know, it's awful. Anyway, let's get back to the subject because I get myself wound up. Let's go for this one now. We've got here this part of the interview, and let me know what you think of this interview as well, everybody. Because again, I thought it was, considering that they're selling a new range here. It is perhaps fair to say that there was overall at least an optimism to their TV episodes. This is, of course, Chris and Billy in 2005. In this revived interpretation has been supplanted with some darker themes. Billy sees it like this: if we just made the Doctor Who that we made 20 years ago now, it would feel slightly disingenuous because things were so different then, even 20 years ago. to what we're experiencing, what we've seen, what we've been exposed to since. God, we were so much more positive then. People have been profoundly affected by the material they see on social media, and it's been so normalized, everyone is a lot more heavy-hearted. It's not to say that we don't have a capacity for joy, because I think we absolutely do. But to ignore where we are right now, it's a completely different experience. I am writing things at the moment, and I can't believe how affected I am by the state of the world, because it's featuring all through my writing. Sometimes you just don't realize how much stress you're receiving from what you've read in the news, your experience of life, and how affecting it is. You can see that come up in writers' work, whatever they're writing. It appears in everyone's art, even if it's deeply buried. It's particularly noticeable in recent TV hits such as Adolescence, which arrived in March this year, and last year's, yes, they were bound to mention this, Baby Reindeer. It was brilliant, that show, says Billy. I mean, look how well it's done. There may have been loads of that. Michaela Cole's show I May Destroy You, which aired on BBC One in 2020. There are lots of examples to shows that deal with things that we would have found very hard to talk about 20 years ago. It goes on to say here as well, actually, we'll come back to that because that's about podcasts. We'll come back to that. Now, again, that particular slide there, I understand where she's coming from. You know, I mean, she says here it would feel slightly disingenuous because things were so different than even 20 years ago, right? And then she says we were so much more positive then. 20 years ago, we absolutely were. But because I know Billy's politics, all I see here now is another hypocrisy. Because yes, we all were having a better time 20 years ago. Absolutely we were. The country was in a slightly better state as well, to be honest. But people were entertaining again, you know, when it came to their industry. Politics weren't so much in your dramas as they are now. This is the hypocrisy. This is what I'm saying. The far left, of which most of Miss Piper's policy, personal politics do lie, have ushered in all this. You know, it's their fault that the world is where it is. Yes, they created the situations we're all in by enforcing or trying to enforce their dictates, their ideas, their theories on all of us to this very moment. They wind me up, Ian.
But you're right; it is hypocrisy, and it's just another form of gaslighting, isn't it? It's you know, things were more positive then. Things are a lot darker now. But I also, in the background, support the things that have made it darker now. So I'm just trying to pretend that I'm sad about it when this is actually what I wanted all along. It's total hypocrisy. But they're all as bad as each other, sadly.
Yeah. I just don't understand why they can't see that they are their policies, their politics are the root of the problem. Why can't they see that?
They always think that they're right, don't they? They always think that they're right. That they have no capacity for thinking we might have got that wrong. Look at RTD. Everything he does in his head, he thinks is right. And if nobody likes it, then the people that don't like it are the ones that are wrong. It's not him. Maybe I wrote that wrong and everything. It's everybody else is wrong because he cannot see a viewpoint that isn't his own.
Yeah. Yeah. This comes out again in the next part of this article as well with Eccleston, and we all know where he sits politically, you know. They must be very confused, these people as well, because people on, you know, the hard left, the far left, are constantly changing their mind as they clash about things and they start eating each other alive. There's no consistency with them at all. Really, they just jump on the bandwagon, the latest bandwagon that's fashionable and trendy. That's all it is. So 1 minute they're doing this, and then the hypocrisy comes in, and then the next thing that they're claiming clashes with that. So they say for women's rights, they're all for women's rights, they're all for gay rights. But on the other hand, they're supporting the TQ cult, which is homophobic and misogynistic. Are they exhausting, who viewers, these people? They're absolutely exhausting. Thank you for this. Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you for this, Jess, who's put in a lovely thing here, disingenuous. adjective, not candid or sincere, typically by pretending that one knows less about something than one really does. Yeah. Gosh, George is telling us that I still love Billy. Good for you. Good for you. I think they've gone quite. I think the problem is, again, because of bandwagons and what they have to do, I do honestly believe that entertainers, and entertainment is always left wing. We know that. Not far left, though. I think they've all gone far left now, and they're all wanting to live in their own London world and dictate to the rest of us. I genuinely believe that a lot of them don't realize that they're in their passion, in their their bloody mindedness to get DEI everywhere. I generally don't think they can see the destruction they've caused and are causing.
They'll realise when it's too late, and then they'll call out to all the people that they were insulting for support and help, and it won't be there.
We were allowed to think for ourselves 20 years ago, says Legion of James. We were allowed to form our own opinions without being vilified if it goes against the pushed ideological agenda. That's right. And now they're coming out saying that if they think they would do the Doctor Who they did in 2005 now, it would be unacceptable.
I would say
fresh air.
Yeah, I would say that what we've got to be careful of is rose tinted spectacles. Because you go back to 2005, yeah, it was a freer society there. However, by 2005, Labour had been in for 8 years.
They had, yeah.
By that point, it was very much ist and phobes. Those terminologies were flying around left, right, and centre at that point. Because, for example, immigration, which is a big thing nowadays, obviously, a lot of focus and everything. But it was a big thing then as well. It isn't a recent thing, and it isn't a thing that's come from the mess that the Tories made of it. It was a thing during Labour with Blair and Brown as well, because you had the Home Secretaries, the various Home Secretaries, struggling with those migrant camps in Saint-Gat in France. That was all through Labour's initial term in office. And if you objected to the things that were going on there, you were an ist and you were a phobe and everything else.
Yeah.
So terminologies like that, you were finding a lot of that at that point. So it wasn't that ideal. The rot had definitely set in by that point, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. No.
Oh, it's incredible now, isn't it? It really has. The lunatics really did take over the asylum. They are everywhere. They're in our education, they're in our civil service, they're in our entertainment, they're in our government, they're in our police force, our fire brigades, our NHS. They are everywhere. It's worrying. It's totally worrying. Raymond is saying adolescence was sheer propaganda. Of course it was. Of course it was.
Well, it was gender. It was race swapped, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And Starmer came out saying he wants it shown in schools. Resign. #resign. #Labour out. That's what I say. Useless piece of nonsense, the lot of them. I'll never vote Labour again in my life, I can tell you.
I think a lot of people are like that.
Disgraceful. Call it a general election because we bloody need it because the country's in a mess. Can't believe it. But you're right, Raymond. It was sheer propaganda. Rose is joining us. Hello, Rose. How are you, lovely? Hi, good evening. What have I missed? I'm unable to read a book. Hello, everyone. I hope you're keeping well apart from that, Rose. You'll have to go back and listen to us from the beginning of this because we've been talking about Mark Gatiss and his interview for the BBC Writers' Room. We're currently on Doctor Who magazine, a new edition that came out on Thursday. We're halfway through the discussion about what Chris Eccleston and Billy Piper have been saying. We've just talked about their fears about AI and mobile phones and the internet and that sort of stuff. We've got a bit more coming from. They're going to be talking about podcasts in the interview in a second. So that's what we're up to. Rose, we're also on tomorrow night, Sunday night, live at 8 o'clock, just to let you know as well, lovely. Okay. So this is part 1 of 2. Fan01ish is saying everything was better in the past. Hang on. I thought nostalgia for the past was the enemy. Yes, exactly. So it ties in nicely, wasn't it, with what Mark Gatiss was saying? Again, no consistency from these people. Matthew Pound is saying actors have no insight into anything. They just read other people's lines and get paid huge amounts of money for it and think they're clever. And Mark Milford, thank you for your super chat. Big media knows they've lost control of AI. They are now focusing on platform rules, what's allowed on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, Tiki, etc. Who gets seen and who stays invisible. Goodness me.
Yeah, because big media loves control, doesn't it? It loves control. It loves controlling the narrative. Thing is, about X, for example, if it hadn't been for X, we wouldn't have had any idea of what was going on in Epping, because it's a major news item and it hasn't been on any of the mainstream platforms, has it?
No, not at all. I mean, of course, a lot of them decided, because of their sheer bile against the guy that owns X, that they were going to go all on either. You know, I mean, sometimes these people are so intent on their, I'm going to use the word hatred for certain people, a particular president in particular, that they'll do everything against them, even possibly, like in the case of New York now, sacrificing their own culture and forgetting recent history. Bloody insane some of these people are. They really are. Thank you for that, though, Mark. Thank you for your super chat. Legion of James saying, look, I agree with Ian. I think the sheer saturation of the ideological agenda is that rhetoric now does make 20 years ago feel more rose-tinted, even though we now know the rot started to set in slowly then.
Yeah.
P. Ferreira saying to us, I used to think I was the lunatic. I'm starting to think if the BBC let me in, it might be a normal company. You won't get in. You're the wrong shape, to be quite honest. I mean, we all know as well they get away with what's called positive discrimination. I would argue positive discrimination is still discrimination and should be illegal.
Totally agree.
Telling young kids they can't get in because of the colour of their skin. Disgraceful. What's this from Frankie? JT, what's your view on Stephen Colbert firing by CBS Paramount as he hated them paying off Trump? No idea, mate. I don't know who that is. Don't follow American networks at all because they don't interest me. So I'm sorry, I don't know what. Who's?
He's one of those presenters in the sort of like style of Jay Leno or the other
those late night things.
Yeah, I think they're stopping the show after 33 years and stopping another one as well. They're saying it's allegedly because of cost savings.
It could well be.
They had to pay Trump. See, he did a lawsuit against them because they're one of those that throw insults left, right, and centre, and they've actually had to face some accountability. And he didn't like it, so there we go.
Right. I don't know enough about it, Frankie, so I can't answer your question honestly. What I will say is American networks. Why do they all have the same show on in the evening at the same time with the same set on different channels?
It's weird, isn't it?
I don't get it. We don't do that in Britain. We don't have these late night
Jonathan
talk
Ross
shows.
tried to emulate it, didn't he? And Graham Norton does a little bit, but Ross Moore with the desk and the backdrop tried it.
Yeah, it didn't set the world on fire, though, did it?
We're more used to things like Parkinson, aren't we? That was a lot more civilized.
Well, that was a late night show, but it didn't have a desk or anything, did it? It was just Michael talking to a guest or two or three. And it was all about the guest and not about the host. Whereas nowadays it seems to be about the host. Yeah. And he just happens to have a guest with him to pick him up. Yeah.
Parkinson was good.
I've watched a couple of them when Matt Smith was on one with somebody and Capaldi was on with the same guy. It was somebody from Scotland. The host was somebody from Scotland. And they weren't even promoting Doctor Who. They weren't talking enough about it. It was rubbish. Rubbish. Right. So I can't be done with all that. Sorry. Not for me. And Frankie's saying, no problem, JT. I just thought I'd ask. Well, thank you. Yeah, you can ask us anything you like on this show, as you know, but I'll tell you, I don't know enough about it. Thank you. But if it's winding up the left wing, good. Tom Martin, Craig Ferguson's a late night show. He wasn't, but that's the one. That's the guy. Matt Smith was on his show, and then Peter Capaldi was on, and he's Scottish, and he had a TARDIS on his desk, which I thought was just sad. Really, just show you wouldn't get that now, would you? You wouldn't get it. I suppose we did report that Gatwa went on one. I don't know if that was Ferguson's or somebody else. Really,
that was fun.
Yeah. Paul Rosesaints was here. I love Talons. I can't wait for your review. The Doctor I grew up with a top team, horror elements. Anyone who has a problem with it has bigger problems than themselves. Look in the mirror. We will review it at some point. I'm saving it. Correct, Brett, because
you need to savor these special stories, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. We'll get round to it eventually. We will do. There it is. Enspiel saying Craig Ferguson was in a band with Peter Capaldi. That's right. I remember now because they started talking about guitars and stuff, didn't they? Frankie's saying the Craig Ferguson show was fantastic. Frankie, why do they all look the same though? Why do they always have some sort of nighttime cityscape behind them and they've got a desk and a mug on the thing? Why do they do that? Why can't they come up with a different form? Even James Corden had one of the shows, didn't he?
Yeah. Did he take over from David Letterman? I don't know, and I also don't care really. But he's another one that's a problem, isn't he?
Well, he's back here now, isn't he?
Yeah.
We don't want him either. Stephen O'Neill reminded us that Pebble Mills is a late night chat on the BBC One in the late 70s and 80s because Peter Davison was interviewed on it. I think it was called Saturday Night at the Mill. It was, yes. And sometimes I was allowed to stay up to watch it because it was on really late. It was on about 10 o'clock or something. And I think it was live. I think
JT, I think we may have missed a super chat from Marie UK as well, who was having a bit of a joke because you were talking about AI, and she commented she bets you don't like the self-service checkout at the supermarket either.
Oh, right. I'm not a big fan of it now, to be quite honest. Thanks for that. I'm not a big fan. I've used them for convenience sake because sometimes people get on my nerves. And sometimes, especially stupid people, they can get on my nerves. And sometimes the queues are so long. So I have used them all. But I'm very good at acknowledging the staff that are around there and trying to talk to them. I find that some of the younger ones don't want to engage. They're quite happy just doing whatever they're doing on a pad and they don't want to. But some of them do. But for convenience sake, sometimes it's quite good to use them. So I'll probably use them in my local Tesco more than I will the queue, if you know what I mean. You can't win though, can you? The self-service is too chaotic to be pleasant to use, says P. Ferreira. Where I am, it's not too bad, I have to admit.
It's when you put something in the bag. It's when you put this. Always happens to me. You put something in the bag, and it's something mundane, like I don't know, a pack of beetroot, sliced beetroot, or something like that. You put it in the bag, and it goes off, and it says "Help is coming." It's like it's a pack of beetroot. I don't need any bloody help. Just weigh the thing, charge the thing, and let me put the next thing in the bag. Yes, I do not need help with beetroot, please. Seriously, always happens.
We've got here from Demorpin, come on, panel shows in the UK all have the same basic sets too. They're way better though. Yeah, I only seem to recall Rossi doing one with this like nighttime thing.
Yeah,
which is
one like that. The rest are all just chairs and sofas, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean the Graham Norton set's been the same for 400 years, hasn't it?
Wogan was the same, wasn't it? Chairs.
Yes, yeah, because Wogan was in a theatre, of course, like Parkinson, the old BBC theatre.
And Russell Harty.
Oh, Russell Harty, do you remember him?
And back a bit, isn't it?
Oh, happy days, yeah. And Frankie's saying to me, JT, you should read a book called The Late Night Wars on the American Chat thing. Now, I know a teeny weeny bit about that. Joan Rivers, of course, had a late night chat show, and she was poached from some other fella's show where she'd made her name, and he didn't speak to her forever after that, did he? Because Joan went to I think Joan went to Fox or something like that to do her show, which was on the same time as his show, and they never spoke again. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. That's all I know about that. Anyway, let's get back to this. Let's get back to this Eccleston thing. Where are we up to? It's this one here. Here we go. Now, there might be a big surprise in Christopher Eccleston's next project in here for you. There might not be. Right, here we go. Do Chris and Billy listen to podcasts? Billy, we note, name-dropped acclaimed podcaster and psychotherapist Esther Perel in an episode of her award-winning Channel 4 series, I Hate Susie. Esther Perel is someone both Lucy Preble, Billy's friend and co-writer, and I have been obsessed with for years. I love podcasts. I went through a sort of podcast addiction through lockdown and post-lockdown. And then I realized I stopped listening to music and that I was kind of brimming with information. I'd done what I always do, which is to just go heavy on something and then kind of reject it because it's all too much. It was getting out of hand. Mel Robbins' podcast, I was listening a lot to the Huberman Lab, but again, it creates stress in me. I sit there thinking I should understand my son's, what's that, amygdala more, whatever that is. You know what I mean? I don't need this much information. So I'm back into listening to the radio again. I don't do podcasts, says Chris. I've always been a music obsessive. So when people are listening to podcasts, I'm listening to music. That's my thing. Reggae and funk and ska and soul. But no, I'm not a podcast person. I know I should be because most of my friends are. I don't do audiobooks either. I read. I'm pretty old-fashioned. By contrast, Chris has been working on a psychological thriller for Netflix called Out of the Dust. It's set within a present-day religious cult, explains Chris. Ha ha ha. I play a corrupt alcoholic leader. It's quite a strong drama with a lot of it led by some very good young actors. He's also involved in another project written by Big Finish writer Lisa McMullen. I've worked with her on a Doctor Who at Big Finish. She sent me a script, which I've attached myself to, and we're trying to get the budget. It's called Hear Me Roar. Anna Friel, Emma Thompson, and myself are attached. It's one of those independent British films, a very contemporary story. Wait for the actual revelation now, everybody. It's about a transgender woman, someone who's transitioned pre the events of today and brought about a change in the British law. It's based on a true story, but Lisa has given it a very comedic and humane treatment. I'd really like it to happen, most of all for Lisa. In the meanwhile, Chris and Billy have enjoyed recapturing something of their past glories and indeed exploring new territory. Well, I mean, I love playing the Doctor generally, says Chris, when asked to sum up his feelings about being back. What I love about this is leading it, but stepping back for people, not least of which is his companion who did so much to help define his Doctor and that era. It's great to work with Chris again, says Billy. It's nice to have him engaged with the Doctor Who world. He's been sorely missed. And that takes us right back to, of course, nostalgia is a dangerous thing, says Doctor Who apparent legend Mark Gatiss. Yep. They are. So, no, and here Gatiss has written stuff for Big Finish, hasn't he? And he's saying that about nostalgia. And yet Big Finish, in the meantime, are pushing now a brand new range of audio with Christopher Eccleston from 20 years ago, Jodie Whittaker from how many years ago she did it, and the previous Doctors from God knows how many years ago. Yeah. That's nostalgia. That's it.
Their business is based on nostalgia. It's a business model. I mean, I wouldn't mind. Nostalgia sells, doesn't it? I mean, look how good retro-themed stuff do, because people like nostalgia. It's not an evil thing. You just show it respect. You know, show your source material respect, and that's the problem with current Doctor Who's. I was going to say touching, but it sounds wrong. Current Doctor Who's use of classic Doctor Who, it's nostalgia, but it's not being treated with respect, and that's why it's been received so badly. It's been used by arrogant people with arrogant attitudes and not using any respect, and it's why it's failed, and will continue to fail if those people stay doing it.
Yeah. I just thought these two stories tied very nicely together, the one about Gatiss and the one about Eccleston and Billy Piper, because, again, it shows the contradictory nature of these people who are apparently and allegedly all on the same side of the political spectrum. But they just don't agree. It is. Well, good luck to them. And if you're buying this series, good luck to you. I hope you enjoy it. But I certainly won't be. I certainly will not be. Yeah. R. John is saying to us quite correctly, Bog Vanish is entirely based on nostalgia. Blake 7, The Avengers, Sapphire Steel, etc., etc. And of course, Doctor Who. How many other series, spin-off series have come out of Doctor Who? Unit, River Song, Lightfoot, and yeah. All nostalgia. So Mark Gatiss is saying, not only is Doctor Who no longer for you, because he did say that as part of his interview, didn't he? We read it out before. Doctor Who is not for these old grumpy people. Again, somebody else telling us that. Well, in that case, then, neither are the audios. So why are you bothering to pay $13.99 or more a month? Awful stuff, isn't it, everybody? What do you make of it all? It's good to see you all. Thank you all very much for joining us on that one. That's
we've had a good crowd tonight. We've had a really good crowd tonight.
We've got here Raymond saying the BBC Channel 4 will fund the trans film, or in reality we will fund it. I'm surprised they haven't been in touch with that. And Peter Harrington is saying creativity is dead and gone to live in a farm. P. Ferreira very cleverly saying, I don't think many have nostalgia towards Mark Gatiss.
No.
I don't think so. I mean, these people don't half alienate the supposed audience. They get to a point where they think we don't need them. We don't need that. You do. You always need the fan base that helped to create you. And it's going to come back and hit you all just like it did with Doctor Who. You might think you're above us and you might think you don't need us all. But if Doctor Who goes, and as Doctor Who has gone, that's another piece of money for you. You're not going to make anything because we won't buy your target novel. There'll be no new script for you to produce. We won't buy your episodes. Won't buy anything you're saying. Oh,
It's that I've said it before, pompous arrogance on what they perceive as their way up. But careers wax and wane, don't they? And it'll be coming down again. I think his career's coming down anyway. I don't think this latest thing is going to be bookish, is going to be any world-shattering thing. And he'll probably rediscover his humility again, but it'll be too late, and it'll only be for self-serving purposes. So I think he's burning his bridges, and that's fine.
I think they all have, haven't they? We've seen it with RTD, haven't we? You know who viewers, how fed up I am about talking about him. I'm sick about talking about, and we've got this fish thing coming up, so we're going to have to do it again. And he is quiet at the moment because he's working on this TQ cult thing. But then we've got all these other people coming out saying silly, stupid things as well. And I think it all stems from the master himself saying certain stuff, and they listen to that going, oh, I must repeat that.
Yeah.
Because we've heard it all before. We've heard it since Whittaker. It's not for you anymore. Well, how's that gone for you? David Worley, nice to see you. Demorpin. Oh, this is answer to Demorpin, our friend Demorpin. Showrunners wasn't the stupidest mistake you could have made. I'm honestly not sure at all. A renewal of sorts with someone younger but not woke. It's finding them as well, David, isn't it? To find anybody, a new producer, a new production team that isn't in show business right now. That's what I'm personally thinking, David.
Yeah.
Show needs a good break of at least 5 or 6 years for entertainment to get all this crap out of its system once and for all and go back to entertaining. I think we've got, I think that's the difficult thing there, mate. Honestly, I really do. We've got Thundercats. Oh, I remember that. Thank you for that. Without nostalgia, of which I've just enjoyed, no 20-plus-year-old franchise would exist.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're correct. So basically what they are telling them is they're telling the kids that grew up with the show 20 years ago, it's not for you anymore either. You're not the intended market for Doctor Who now. We're after the young ones. That's exactly what they're doing. Pete Harrington, fans are a sounding board, but I think they are deaf. Yeah.
Yes.
They are. They just don't want to hear anything that goes against their belief because you're going to be branded far right.
I know that they don't want to hear it because they're not emotionally resilient enough to cope with it. They can't cope with opposing views. You see that at universities where they try and cancel people so they don't come and speak because they can't cope with. They've lost the ability to debate.
They have.
Yeah,
and they don't get taught it anymore either.
No.
For fear of cancellation by adults. I've been saying this for ages, isn't it? The adults need to come back into the room. Get a grip. Killbot Kill, he just bit the hand that feeds. They all do though, mate, don't they? They really do. Woodhouse 122, I love nostalgia. I think it's important every now and then. In something like Doctor Who, I wouldn't do it every bloody week, but once a series or once every other series, bring the Daleks back once every 4 or 5 years like we had it. Raymond Williams, nostalgia is what Doctor Who convention depends on. It's paid old Doctor Who handsomely over the decades. Quite right, especially when the show was off air, eh, mate? Look at the box sets hit #1 just by word of mouth, says Forbidden Man. Yes. Yeah. And Thundercats, again, saying nostalgia is the glue that keeps franchises from the past in the present. Ooh, that's deep.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
Deep. I like that. And Craig Dunlop, the hypocrisy is Gatiss saying that Doctor Who is not for us yet, paying the BBC license for years.
Yes.
There's a lot of nonsense, isn't there, really, in that? And Dark Hall, bookish minus the B and then add an F. This is what it's all come about. He's been talking about his brand new series that he's written, Bookish. Fan01ish is saying Bookish is a pleasant Sunday afternoon murder mystery material. It seems okay, but it's nothing particularly special. Don't forget, it has also been renewed for a series 2. There you go.
Before they even see how Series 1 goes.
Yeah. And Doc Martin saying to us, I take it Doctor Who is now only for the audience that was referenced by Stinks Monsoon. Yes, it is. That idiot said the same thing as somebody else. For every so many old fans that leave, another 4 or 5 will come in. And they didn't. They didn't. They placed their faith in the wrong market, the wrong demographic, or whatever they want to call it. They should have said, we've got our existing fan base here. Let's give them something that they will love.
I think they could never accept that their demographic was actually a micro minority of the population. So they always thought it was much, much bigger in their heads than it actually really is in reality. But then them and reality are not usual bedfellows, are they?
Yeah, no, not at all. Nostalgia ain't what it used to be. I'll get my coat, says Doc Martin. As long as it has a point and isn't totally self-indulgent, nostalgia is important, System Open. Well, it certainly played its role in 2005 when Doctor Who came back, didn't it?
Yeah.
Really. And Jess is saying, all bosom buddies, that lot and Gatiss.
Yeah. Jess is right.
Click, click, click,
So
click,
I agree
click.
with Jess.
Marie UK, they are basically telling us not to look to the past because they know shows from the past are so much better than shows in the present. Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. What else we got here as well? Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this Saturday night. It's been a pleasure to see what you're all saying. Dave Worley also saying the writing is the most important thing to correct. How about an adolescent-style one-shot, one-take episode from the point of view of being chased by Cybermen that want your body parts as spares? I think they'd be terrified to do that now.
Oh, they wouldn't dare. That kind of body horror, they wouldn't dare do that.
Might scare the little 20-year-olds. And Anton Brannigan is saying, whatever happened to just writing something good and let people decide for themselves? Telling people it's not for you, thanks for that. We're only the ones that are constantly expected to pay for it. Quite right. That's exactly what it is. They don't care. And especially within the BBC, who think they're superior to everybody else. But that's the entertainment industry all around as well. You know, but you're right. You know, you will be preached to now is the mantra. And Julianne's saying to us, one day these egotists will work out no audience, no show. And here we are. Gatiss seems to unaware all this slagging off fans could dent the audience numbers for his own show. Well, I won't be watching it, will you? Can't be bothered with him. Can't be bothered with him. Yeah.
No, it's toxic.
Yeah. And G35, good to see you. Nostalgia has its place, particularly on anniversaries. The rest of the time, the show should be pushing forward with new creations, but it's the writers who keep bringing up the past. Yeah, because nobody asks for Sutet to come back, do they? Nobody asks for the Rani. Really, nobody asked for Omega. Really, only a minority.
Sutek's story was perfect in those 4 episodes. That story, Pyramids of Mars, was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that was it.
Yeah,
and it didn't require anything else. It's because Russell T Davies didn't have anything else.
No, and it showed. As you can see in our reviews of those episodes, it was lazy. It was hollow. And as Paul found out, all he wanted was content. He didn't want quality. He wanted content for a ticky-tocky generation who live on content, but they didn't watch the show. You know? Oh, never mind. PTA, thank you for your super chat saying you love the chat tonight. It's been great to have you all with us as well. Thank you very much. Don't forget, you do make our shows. It's always great to come and hear what you want to watch. Glenn Piper, good evening, guys. Never normally on this late in the Saturday evening. Hope you're all well. I'll watch this back in repeat. Billy Piper is wrong. Society has not changed since 2005. I think to an extent, elements of our British society has, but that's not through any fault of our own. He says, trying to be very careful.
I think that's fair.
I think it's fair because, as I say, Glenn, as you know, I've said it before earlier, I don't recognize this country anymore. This is not the Britain I was brought into, and I don't particularly like it because it scares me. But that's me. But Glenn, it's good to see you. No, this is part 1. As I keep saying, you can join us tomorrow here on the channel at the usual time on Sunday at 8 o'clock for Headlines Part 2 over your weekend here. We've got more to talk about because these 2 stories were just the tip of the iceberg. Lots more coming on. So thank you for joining us. Ian, thank you so much for being part of the show tonight as well.
I've enjoyed it. It's been great fun.
Yeah.
Nice change on a Saturday night.
Yeah. It is good change. Listen, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please make sure you've subscribed. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much. Please make sure you are still subscribed. It's been a great show tonight. As I say, we are back tomorrow live at 8 o'clock with more headlines for you. The big show on your Sunday, live at 8. Paul will be with us then as well. He had to work tonight, so hopefully he won't have to work tomorrow and he'll be with us tomorrow.
Outrageous. I question his commitment.
Yes, so come and join us tomorrow. It's up on the show page now for you to put a reminder in, so you know it's coming, and you can give us a like as well. Don't forget to give this one a like too. But for now, thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. Have a great night. Have a great Saturday. I'm delighted. Thank you for your comments. Delighted that you've enjoyed that. Dialect Lives Matter is saying Superman is good. Don't forget Superman. We're going to be discussing that in Whose Views Recommends Monday night at 8 o'clock. So I really want to hear what you want to what you're all thinking about Superman, or as I call it, Superman 2025. That's Monday night. Lots coming up. Lots coming up for you. From here and from me for the moment, have a great rest of your Saturday night. Have a great Sunday if you're in the UK. Wherever you are in the world, have a great day. We will see you live on the channel tomorrow at 8 o'clock for yet more headlines. Until then, ta-ra, everybody. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Woo!